Awesome. So, um, today I was looking at the Iran war and all that, and I kind of it's making me think how we're going to start to see a lot of boomers out there who are going to get real patriotic real quick. They're going to be, this is America. You don't tread on us. We go over to Iran and we get you and all that. It's easy because it's not them actually doing it. It's somebody else's kid, ideally. And that isn't good. Hey, what's up, man?
How are you doing, but Joe?
I'm doing good. I saw AJ didn't have a stream, so I'm gonna have one. And the topic veers for a few things. I labeled it talking about boomers, but it's kind of about how we're going to start to see boomers get real extra patriotic real quick. Because when it's a war or something, they absolutely love watching like a tank be blown up on a drone footage as they just sit at home eating pizza and stuff. And someone else will have to go to war. So they love it because they can kind of like say that they're in a war, but they don't really have to do anything. Um, this I don't know what linked the boomers to this because they're going to be like, oh yeah, we need a draft and stuff because they're not going to go in it, so they don't care as much. It's to them, it's more just entertainment because they're also kind of at the end of their life, so this just adds some spice in
You know,
that
I
they don't
um
need to stay on the couch.
I think that you're can you hear me all right?
Yeah, yeah,
Okay. I'm just gonna next time that you start going, I'm gonna just close the door, cancel out some of the background noise. I apologize about that.
here in the
But I
back.
think that you're absolutely onto something because I was talking with family members um and they were talking about this Iran conflict, and that concern was exactly brought up. And then to support you even more, you know that I go to the Y and work out, and it's part of my
Yeah,
rehabilitation, right? Um, I was listening, and I've been talking to many of the people that are at the Y about Iran, um, and they think in this paradigm, in this Vietnam paradigm, that getting involved in a conflict overseas inevitably involves troops on the ground, inevitably involves casualties, inevitably involves us having to have a draft. And what I tell them and what I tell you is that the U.S. Government, and especially the U.S. Army and the Marine Corps, although not so much the Marine Corps, the Army, let's just stay with the
yeah,
Army. Um, the Army realized that draftees, a draft is counterproductive. It damages morale at home. And the people that they get are, let's say, less than motivated to be there. They're primarily there to survive the experience. They're not actually there to fight. Do you
yeah,
understand what I'm saying? And
yeah.
they only turn and fight in combat when their life is directly at
As like
risk.
self-preservation.
Right. They
Yeah,
are not there to win wars. And the
yeah,
U.S. Army, um, they've done a fantastic job since Vietnam in what they call force multiplication. And what that means is that one person is doing the job of 8 or 12 people back in the 1970s. And what this means is very, very close integration of what you would see as kind of the tip of the sphere of the spear, the razors in our military, the special forces community. In other words, that our Air Force is very interconnected with with the best of the best of our ground operators, and our ground operators do the job that you would normally need 8,000 other people to do. Do you know
yeah,
what I'm saying?
yeah.
So this war in Iran, in a roundabout way, what I'm trying to say is this war with Iran, even if we put boots on the ground on some of these islands, it's going to be our special operators that are really at the front, and they're going to be working with Kurdish and other militias that are already on the ground. and willing to do the work. And that's exactly what we train them to do. So we can send 12 people into the desert, and they can
We
raise
used
an
to do like what
army.
100 people did.
Well, not even that, Joe. Just think about this: that those 12 people and the resource with the resources of our government and the U.S. Air Force, those 12 people can turn a ragtag militia of Kurdish fighters who are really just trying to protect themselves into a professional army that can go and take large portions of Iran and put that under our control. 12 guys can do that. We don't need to put divisions on the ground. We don't need to deploy tanks and Bradleys, and we don't need to do all that. All of that it is a huge commitment, and we make ourselves vulnerable because it requires a huge amount of infrastructure in order to support heavy ground units. We don't need that. You know, when we put all that crap in Iraq, do you know what it did? It soaked up resources and it sat behind the wire in our bases.
Well, this is what I'm worried about, that they're going to do a 2.0 of it, where they're just playing around for years, like Afghanistan. It's like Afghanistan, we lost in a way.
Right, but
we lost.
How? Well, I want to put it in two ways. I mean, it's almost like what happened in Vietnam.
Well, we didn't. It's not like we lost, but we didn't accomplish what we wanted there. And now it's back to how it was, if not worse.
Okay, so let's go back to 9/11 when it comes to Afghanistan. Okay, do you know how long it took us to remove the Taliban from power in Afghanistan?
Not really. No.
It took us a couple of months.
Yeah.
We defeated them in a couple of very pitched battles, and there was a task force 151, task force Dagger, that went in, and then we deployed another A team to prop up another Northern Alliance army, and these armies with our guys defeated the Taliban on the ground. We are going to use the same strategy. What we're not going to do is occupy Iran the way that we occupied Afghanistan. Do you understand what I mean?
I hope not. Yeah, I don't want. I'm not for that. I don't like that idea.
Right. The idea of occupying Iraq, occupying Afghanistan, trying to play policeman and build up a state. That's not what we're going to do.
We don't need to put McDonald's over there.
Right. We don't. Well, Iran is fairly capable of inviting McDonald's and having those business relationships with those multinational corporations if they want. That's their business. What we're going to do is change the people in power, and then we're going to and they're going to take back over. I mean, like it's like instead of like going in and removing the regime, which is what we're really good at, right? And then take over ourselves, we're going to transfer power. That is what we're going to do. There's already a leadership.
Well, we're going to have a CIA installed power.
Well, we're going to have
ideally
a friend. The royal family that was ousted by the communists and the Islamists in the first revolution in 1979. We're going to empower them and put them back in power, and then those people are going to hold elections, and we're going to be hands off, and that's how it should be. That is the best way that I could put it. That is the model for regime change anyway. Hands off.
Yeah.
A light footprint would be the best way to describe this.
Well, this is what I'm talking about. I think I don't know why I've gotten a tangent about boomers. I think they want it to be a bigger regime change. They want it to be the old world messy way.
I think that they want it to be the Vietnam that they had back in the 60s and the 70s.
Yeah.
Because that was when they were in their heyday.
Yeah.
And it's like with every conflict, you see them try and rehash the whole paradigm over again.
Yeah. That's what they did with Afghanistan too.
It's like they want to relive that. And you know what, I'll tell you this. My dad was a conscientious objector. which means that he would not pick up a gun for this country. And he filed. He thought that
Yeah.
he was doing some patriotic thing by having that status, right? I'm the opposite, and you know that,
Yeah.
given what I've done. Um, uh, what I told my
I kind
dad.
of like your dad's view a little bit too. I
No, no,
see. I
no,
see why he picks it. Each
but
side has its own, points.
no, and I agree with that. What I think, where my dad and I had a real divide, right, was in how people were treated when they came home from Vietnam.
Yeah.
And what I told him is the way that it came across to me that the way that Vietnam veterans were pilloried and harassed at the
Yeah.
airport as they came home.
And they didn't get a
Called
choice in this.
no,
They didn't
no,
know what
no,
they're getting
but
into.
here's sort of the thing that goes into the elites and the wealthy, and then the working people. The people who served in Vietnam in the combat roles, they were blue collar guys. And the
Hmm.
people that were protesting them at the airports when they returned, those were all people that got out of the
Aristocratic
draft.
types.
They got out of the draft by going to college.
Yeah.
And I'm sorry, but if that was you, if you got out of the draft by going to college, and then you turned around and
Now you took
uh,
the high road. You're like, I didn't
no,
go.
no,
Yeah,
it's not
the
even the
pretend
high
high
road.
road.
You
No, it's a
you
pretend high
turned
road.
right. You
Yeah.
turned around and you harassed people who went in your place and called them names. Shame on you. That's what I'll
Yeah,
say.
exactly. But this is what I'm trying to tie it into. I think boomers are trying to do that now, but they know they're not going to get drafted or really much is going to happen to them. But they want everyone else to go. They like it because they don't really have any skin in the game except a
Right.
little bit financially. So
Right.
to
And
them, this is all entertainment to them at nighttime. It's like these are real lives being lost here. And
yeah.
like you have they've been telling you Iran is going to bomb you every day since the 80s, and it's like, I don't think people in Iran are particularly worried about what we're doing over here.
Well, not so I'll agree with you halfway. Okay. Um, it's not the people in Iran, the regular citizens that I'm worried about. Um, it is the people in charge that are devoted to developing ballistic missiles and nuclear weapons. Um, I don't think that they're actually going to strike the continental United States, but
I don't think so. I just don't
I
believe that. I don't
right,
think that will
but I
happen.
absolutely do believe that if we had let this situation alone, they would have developed the capability to hit bases where we station tens of thousands of troops, and they could have struck them with a nuclear weapon.
Yeah, there's that, but like the other things that I start to see at play is
Or
um
Joe, think about this. This is a regime that created Hezbollah, right? A militia in Lebanon that harasses Israel on its northern border. They literally created Hamas, and supported them, and that's in the Gaza Strip, right? They empowered and supported the Houthis in Yemen, who've been
yeah.
shooting rockets, right? Uh, do you really think that it's out of that it's a slim possibility that Iranian military personnel that they couldn't have transferred the custody of one of those nuclear weapons to a group like Hezbollah to use it in their stead, right? Instead of Iran launching an attack, it would be Hezbollah, an actor without a state, launching a nuclear strike.
Yeah, all
That's
those
a
are true,
possibility
and
in
they
my
all
view.
sound like Israel's problem, not my
Uh,
problem.
well, but we have forces in the area too. We're the
Which
prime
I
target.
don't think that we need to be over there doing anything. Is my point. Like the whole reason everyone a lot of us voted for Trump is we didn't want to be involved in these type of conflicts. But now we're doing like we do everything that Israel wants all the time, which is mostly killing Muslims.
Well, all right. So like 90% of the Middle East, you could consider as being Muslims, right? Using
Hmm.
a wide what would you say definition, right?
Sects of
So
Muslims, yeah.
right. So if you throw a stone 9 out of 10 times, you're going to hit a Muslim. So if you do anything in the Middle East, it's going to be kind of against Muslims. Do you know what I'm saying? So like
Yeah.
I get where you're coming from. But when we've played the isolationist game in the past, it has not worked out to our benefit. Do you know what I mean? Like I think that we have to be involved. I think that we have to be working with our allies and we have to be working against our enemies. But I mean, like I'm the other side of the argument. You know what I'm saying, Joe? Like this is one place where we disagree. I respect your position though. I completely understand it.
Yeah, I have a little bit more like, of a simplistic position on it. It's just like I don't think that we I think we should just be worried about United States of America. Like Israel's well equipped to deal with this. Let them deal with it.
Right.
It's their problem.
I
I think that we shouldn't be sacrificing our own people for them,
I don't think that we are
or
I
pay.
think
I
that
don't want to pay a dime to them.
yeah.
I don't like. I think
And
we have enough people here that would all just relate. That I think that they have enough that they can handle on their own. There,
I believe that you are more right than you know.
Yeah. So that's my major point. Basically about it is that. But I think we have a generation of these boomers that are so brainwashed, and you guys got to remember, boomers hold a lot of the power. They're still the CEOs of companies. They've invested, and a lot of them do actually have a pretty good amount of wisdom, but they still have a high influence of in this country in all areas, every industry, all that. But the problem that I have with them is
I
they're
think they're
just brain is
selfish.
cooked. They're selfish, and their brain is also cooked by Fox News propaganda and all that. I watched a little bit of Fox News on this yesterday. So we were looking at there's it about a couple weeks ago there was an attack on a synagogue in Detroit, and I was covering a live news thing of it as it came out, saying I think this is an inflated event. We still haven't seen the guy being dead or said the guy is a hero, but I'm saying and I think it's a real event that they inflated it, and that type of thing is what boomers love to see. The helicopter going around the building, looking at all the smoke, and say like they tried. In their mind, that's the war going on, but it's a fluffer to get them horny for war.
Hmm.
That's exactly what we had seen. And
Well,
by I'm not saying it was a completely false flag, but it did its job of what it's supposed to be. So now they say, "Oh my God, did you hear this maniac whose his like middle name was like Gaza Strip?" It's like Temple of Israel. His like middle name is like Muhammad Gaza Strip, dude. I'm not even kidding.
so like
Then and then he
I
goes to get fire trucks. Like if you look at the live yesterday, because basically I said this. I said I saw the coverage as it's happening live, and I saw a couple people. I just saw one YouTube image, and I could tell a couple of those people had no business holding these guns or anything. They looked like complete dolts. A stand-in Fed.
mhm.
Um, that made me start to question the whole thing. So I just started looking at all the live news things coming out and everything like that. And then I
Well,
made a couple
sometimes
predictions. And then a couple week, like basically maybe another week later, once they had the whole story straight, we could look at it, and it seemed like a sort of basically like a psyop. But but to a boomer, this is real, and this justifies us going harder over there. And
well,
that's what that's what that operation did.
so can I add some insight
Sure,
into what's going on in Michigan? Hold on, just give me 1 second. I just got to close my door.
sure.
Sorry about this, Joe. Give me 1 second.
Yep. And a bunch of you guys in the chat remember seeing that too. Like we were laughing at it yesterday
Sorry
about how the guy stopped at 4 gas stations to fill up gas. Get the fuck out of here. Took pictures of his receipts, guys. They're fucking with you. They are
So
fucking with you. They are.
so just
Basically, what I want to say this, it can be like things can be like 80% real, but like 20% bullshit. And that 20% bullshit is like what can be more important. That was something like that happened there, in my
so
opinion.
can I so this is what I'll say about Michigan. You know
Yeah.
who Rashida Tlaib is, right?
Yes.
Yes. Okay, so that's her district. And when you look at where Detroit is in Michigan, it's right on the coast, right?
Yeah. I've
And
been to Detroit.
right. So
It's right on the
just
water. It's almost
outside
near
of
Canada. It's basically
right,
like Canada.
right. It's right across the. It's
Yeah.
right across. Yeah. So if you know where the airport is, going
Mm-hmm.
out towards the airport from Detroit is a city called Dearborn. All
Mm-hmm.
right, that's where you have a huge what would you call it, population of Muslims.
Yeah.
So some of them are American citizens, some of them are not. And
Yeah.
what I will tell you from my insight into the area is that that area is very rife for international crime and scams that for taking money, borrowing money that's never going to get paid back for businesses, right? Shell companies. And then they take the money that's borrowed and send it back to primarily Hezbollah in Lebanon. And these financial crimes, the area is rife with them. And there's a lot of extremism in Dearborn. When you
Yeah.
go there, there is a very loud
Yeah.
call to prayer in Dearborn, because that area is majority Muslim.
Yeah. The only thing that made me think that it was a real event. So I believe it's just an inflated event. But let me ask you this, because I asked this question yesterday. If someone killed like 4 of your family members, you might retaliate how he did. I probably would.
So the only reason why I mentioned that population in Michigan is that I just wanted to say that
They're
it's not like
volatile.
this is not some like international terrorist that's coming to strike out at a synagogue in Detroit. He was looking for a local target. That makes sense to me. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, that's what I think happened.
Like that's why you have that guy in that state, in that city, doing those kinds of things. And there have been other plots that have come out of Michigan. Michigan is sort of famous for terrorist plots. In fact, Timothy McVeigh and his buddy trained with the Michigan militia. So this state has had a long and sad history with domestic terrorism.
Yeah, I mean, you guys, if you're gonna do anything like that, don't use goddamn fireworks like an idiot like this jerk off did. Stop at 4 gas stations and take pictures of your receipts. You're gonna die. Your plan was to die. You know what I mean? There's just so much garbage around it that you can tell that they had to create that evidence to make the narrative.
Well, I literally, I'm not going to say one way or the other, Joe. All I'm going to say is that most of these guys that get involved with this domestic terrorism type stuff, right? Most of them are politically motivated and they're not professional soldiers. So they have zero training in what they're doing. And just like those 2 idiots in New York that threw that bomb. They're not very
educated in general,
right,
kind of low
right.
IQ
They just
to begin with.
Most of them don't even know how to shoot.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So like
they don't even know how to wash. Oh,
right, yeah. I could like make a bunch of jokes like they don't even know what species to stick it in, for crying out loud. Oh,
yeah, they don't. Oh, they're the goat. Oh, It's okay. We
But
can make a blanket statement and a carpet statement. Oh, a towel statement.
the goats are in
No, they
danger. I'm just saying.
yeah. No, they are kind
No,
of cooked like
but
that.
like I'm just saying you're not dealing with like what Al Qaeda
MI6
produced in.
guy or something.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you're not dealing with somebody who has been somebody who has the devotion and the training and the experience in war. Like these are not professional terrorists. They're not. These guys are amateurs and they're going to fail way more than they succeed.
Yeah.
I'm just from my perspective. I'm just giving it to you real, like just off the cuff.
Yeah. So let's go to this book that came out that actually looks pretty good. That I want to see this little book review of this guy right here.
I'm Allie Joseph, and today I'm joined by a very interesting author with an equally interesting backstory.
Oops.
Bruce Cannon-Gibney, author of A Generation of Sociopaths, How the Baby Boomers Betrayed America. It was named as one of Esquire's 6 books to read after the recent election, and Fortune said it was sure to be controversial. So let's get into it. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
I'm happy you're here. This is a really unique premise, and as Fortune said, a controversial thesis. Tell us a little bit about the book and what the genesis of it was.
Sure. So I really wanted at first to understand why America had been stagnating, because it struck me that every challenge after 1946 seemed fairly.
Right now, it's not stagnating; it's fagnating. Oh!
Trivial to every challenge that had come before. Right, there was no continent to settle. There were no world wars to fight. Vietnam was certainly not on the scale of World War I, World War II, and so on down the line. You'd have temporary setbacks like Vietnam or the JFK assassination, but something about American dynamism really seemed to peter out in the 1990s. And I first tried to answer this question in 2000.
What do you think? What do you think he's going to say? I have a couple.
I think that
American manufacturing being shipped away is going to be a part of it.
Yeah, and that is part of it. But I think that with that generation, right, you had a lack of understanding in what it meant to be American. The generation that he's talking about that came after the baby boomers, because the boomers so rejected the American identity, the product of the boomers, they have this they don't even understand the basic things that this country provides them with. Like they take that all for granted because they don't understand what the rest of the world is like. They don't understand the value of having local elections, local government. They don't understand any of that because they've never seen what it means to live without those things.
Yeah, every road has been paved for them.
Right.
Basically, literally.
And they're incredibly entitled. And you know, like once you see like a country like my wife's, where you see people working day to day, just to get enough money to eat and to feed their families. And you come back home and you see people that are spending all of their money on alcohol and drugs. You realize how ridiculous that is. How much that Thai family that I was just referring to would absolutely give everything to trade places with this person that doesn't even seem to appreciate the basics.
Yeah. And the boomers also not sold out things, but also made things harder for the next generation. So
yes, they did. Yes, they did.
Look at all the zoning laws and all the bullshit that they have.
Well, here's
they added all that, and they add all these fake jobs in, and all these new laws and ways to clip your money.
I've got even something bigger than that, Joe. How about China's inclusion into the WTO?
Yeah. Yeah.
How about that? Like we allowed,
and they fell for every goddamn psyop and let the food get poisoned and everything. They really let Big Brother come in and do whatever they want.
But Joe, this was bigger, and people like Mitt Romney profited off of this, right? This was going on in the 90s when I was a kid.
Yeah.
China.
By the way, shout out to Mitt Romney, friend of the show. He has a house in my town, and if he needs to do some work done, I'll do it. Continue.
But China should have never been allowed in the WTO.
Yeah,
we should have kept them isolated. The Tiananmen Square massacre made them what is the word where it excludes you? Like when nations do that, they're supposed to be ousted from the WTO. Other nations are not supposed to do business with them.
Yeah. Well, this sums it up perfectly, because a boomer loves this. If a product can be made overseas by a kid for like $10 less than paying someone here, they will do it. That's the key of a boomer.
Yes,
that's
absolutely.
The genesis of the whole boomer story.
And they changed the rules in the WTO so that the manufacturing base in America relocated to China.
Yes, yeah, and that's sold out generations of people.
That sold out our entire
country,
blue collar working class Americans.
Yeah, and the GDP, the gross domestic real product that we do. Everything now is a fake business.
Yes,
or it's not a hard asset.
So that's like a common theme with boomers. That they are absolutely willing to sell the blue collar workers down the river.
They love it
in order to profit for it.
Yeah.
That is one thing I'm absolutely on board with you with.
Yeah, but that one thing is still affecting us to this day. Like we may never be able to have the manufacturing, but like you're talking about Detroit. I've been to Detroit and walked all around it and all that. It's actually a shame because we could be making all sorts of stuff there, but they got greedy and they wanted to, make like, 3 cents more in each car or something like that. It's like, oh, we'll have kids in China or not kids, just have China do it. That mentality still happens now because it's so funny. They had the most abundance, yes, they're the most cheap with every goddamn thing. They hate when their neighbor prospers too.
Yeah.
Boomers do that keeping up with the Joneses thing.
Yep.
That basically lowers everybody in a way because they're just it's really strange. And I want to say this one other thing. It's easier to fall for any psyop when you have a lake house and a boat. Because you know what I'm saying? They're like, well, I don't really give a shit. I'm just gonna go. I'm not gonna like look into anything that much because I just have a boat and a lake house on the weekend, and I have an RV and I have a couple motorcycles and I have all this stuff.
I would say that that is because they believe that their wealth insulates them. It insulates them from the consequences of things that are going on. They think that they're above it. It
does a little bit. That's the thing. This is what I'm talking about. It kind of, or it has. It doesn't do it. It has a little bit. That's why I'm saying they love watching Fox News right now when some tank gets blown up by a drone on grainy footage. They are stroking it to that hard right now because they're in their safe suburban house. They know they're not going to get drafted. If their kids get drafted, they actually like it because they say like, "Now I can be a hero because my son's in there." It's like, well, why didn't you go in ever? They're like, I'm not going to do that. I went to college, and by the way, I paid for that college like in one summer. My son, who has to go to college, he's cooked. So it is very selfish like that, but it's also like they don't want their neighbor to prosper. That's what I'm saying. So their vote still runs a lot, and you can trick a boomer very easily because he has that wealth to insulate himself. So it makes it easier to be tricked or to be coaxed into anything because you kind of have a lot of good stuff.
I almost want to say that, the word sociopath that this guy is describing them at, it's like
sociopath means they have no empathy.
No, I know that. I know that
for empathy. Yeah.
But think about like the group of people that we're talking about. We've kind of established that they have this commonality in behavior where they don't mind selling out America if they can profit from it.
Absolutely, yeah. They'll
Like
sell their next door
that's
neighbor out to profit
right.
off of
That's
it.
a defining trait, and it, like, what we have to reestablish is
And this
we
is
have
why
to
we have BlackRock from
or
boomers, 100% from boomers.
we have to reestablish the belief that doing good things for America benefits the people that are around you, and if the people that are around you benefit, it's going to ultimately benefit you. We have
Yeah,
to
but they don't.
reestablish that understanding.
Yeah, all ships or iron sharpens iron. They don't view it like that. They don't view it like that. They don't view it like that, and clearly they don't view it that way at all. So let's go into this a little bit more, because
Yeah.
that's what I'm saying. The boomers really help push us into conflicts in a lot of ways. Why? Because you're a pawn to them. If
Well,
you're a sociopath, everyone else is a pawn to you. They don't
Joe,
care about you prospering or your kids doing okay. It's not in their like locus of control.
This is sort of like an interesting fact, but you talked about walking around in Detroit. Do you want to know something? What was built in Detroit that changed the world? The Easy 8 Sherman, the M4, the M4, A3, A4, all of the A8. Those tanks were some of the best built tanks in World War II. Very competitive with their German counterparts. And that was built in Detroit. That has been destroyed because we eliminated the tariffs that we put on China and allowed that industry to move overseas.
And we didn't care about our own manufacturing.
Right.
Too. Like the Detroit was actually once a great city. And it gave people of all kinds of skill levels a job. You could be a grandmother pushing a button on a big assembly line, just like literally just like pushing a button, getting like $20 an hour and full benefits and everything. That's actually good.
Right.
That's what we want, because that's some stability, and then it's more of incentive to buy American products and all that. Well, people don't give a damn about buying. Everything is made in China that you then put an American sticker on it when it gets here. That's boomers. They allowed that to happen.
And I also think about the behavior
to save like $4 too.
Right.
Not even a lot of money.
But the behavior of some of their unions, where the unions have also been sort of selfish and were willing to sell the people from the new workers that were coming up down the river in order to personally profit. I have seen that happen so many times.
Like unions, unions are kind of mobbed up oftentimes.
Yes. Yeah. I've seen that happen with machinists in Detroit. I've seen that happen with metal workers here and steam fitters here in Wisconsin. And I've seen that same behavior happen with the teachers in Milwaukee Public Schools.
Yeah. Once you get into unions, you get a little more communistic.
Yes.
And then you get people. And what I think of when I see a union job is a guy showing up, opening a lawn chair, and reading a paper saying I'm at work. That's what. There's many jokes about it.
Yeah.
So a union organizer always gets paid the most, and they often don't even know a damn thing about the trade. So that happens all the time.
Well, they're usually connected to the mob.
They are, yeah.
That's why they have that job. And the reason why they're called organizers is that if anybody steps on a line when it comes to the machinists, they're there with the brass knuckles to threaten them.
Or they break their window and you have to pay a protection subscription.
Yes, absolutely.
Basically.
This is why I hate all of these mechanisms that they use they call it people power or whatever. No, I believe in the individual person. That's what I want to empower. I want to empower people to make responsible, good decisions themselves. I don't want unions representing me. I can represent myself. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, no, I agree. Yeah, I totally agree. Because then they can be co-opted easily too.
Say what happened in the future. which circulated around Silicon Valley, and I thought that Silicon Valley
So
was
this
getting a
guy,
little too
we'll go
enthused
back
with
to
these sort
this.
of Me Too
See what
products
this
or
guy is saying.
the social networks light, so not really your Facebooks, but more sort of your snaps per second. But obviously the dynamics of national stagnation, transcend like a 25-mile radius around Stanford. And so I decided to push my investigation out further and further. And that eventually led me to the baby boomers, because their policies and their behaviors, both individually and politically, have been radically different than that of any generation we've seen before. And although it's too soon to arrive at a definitive answer, they seem to be quite different from the behaviors and policies of younger generations.
Great. So let's just distill this a little bit for the people who are watching. A generation of sociopaths makes I think, posits that the baby boomer generation is sociopathic in its behavior because it was the first generation to have a completely different approach to life, right? More permissive parenting, more television, TV dinners, perhaps less unity in the family than before. That's a pretty strong premise,
Boomers also started the generation of the 304.
Yep. Free love.
304s have always existed through times, but they took the shame out of the game.
Right.
Boomer parents now tell your daughter to be a 304.
Yep. And it all started with that hippie movement and free love and all of that other crap. And it has only hurt people in the long run.
Yep. Yeah. It cooked their brain. And that's another thing too. Okay. What about you hippie boomers? Why did you let the fucking food get poisoned? And all the chemicals and everything. The one thing you could have done was to make sure that didn't happen. And now look at it. We're cooked.
Well,
we have Tylenol kids everywhere.
Well, and I don't think I think that people have rose-colored glasses when it comes to the hippie movement. They only see what they want to see instead of actually what is. Because a lot of the people that were involved with the free love and the drugs and all of that, they're dead. Those people died from using drugs, from getting addicted to drugs, from getting into that stuff. They're not alive today. Do you know what I mean? Like everything that was involved with the counterculture, the hippie culture, it's like if you look 2 steps behind the mirror, it's like a culture of death. And they celebrate it.
Well,
and self-destruction.
It's a culture of degeneracy.
Right.
It's literally
self-destruction.
Self-destruction, serve yourself, be a degenerate, be a hedonistic, in an orgy, doing drugs all day.
Yep.
But you're also a socialist communist, but you don't want to work. Like,
right.
It's all those things. And it's often rich kids with money, that just get to go to Burning Man and all this stuff. And they think they're doing a social change. It's like, you guys haven't done any social change.
Yeah. So
we've declined a lot. But like the reason I'm saying the hippies, they're like, hey man, we want to keep the food, like we want the forest to stay green and all this. Like, well, why did you that's what I'm saying. Like, so let's say you're a boomer man or woman. Okay. And you're going to the grocery store and you see, hey, I want some wheat bread. And you get the wheat bread, and then, you start looking later, like, why does this wheat bread have 15 ingredients in it when before it only had 3 or 4?
Right.
And then why is it also 27 ingredients now and shit that I can't pronounce?
Mm-hmm.
Well, I have a lake house, so to hell with it. I don't care. I'm just going to eat this white Wonder Bread and have 3D printed Campbell's chicken and all this garbage. That's one thing where I feel like they did kind of let us down, and they allow Big Brother stuff to the totalitarian tiptoe. They allow more and more and more of that to happen. And but then they shame you. They're like, when we were kids, we didn't have seatbelts and stuff. It's like, well, I don't know how I'm supposed to do anything about that. They say that we're a lazier generation, but when they could work 1 week and have their rent paid, and said, well, we have to work 3 weeks to just pay our rent, it's much easier for them. The wealth differential is much different. And they had a lot less zoning laws and bullshit and things like that. Like, if you're a boomer and you were going to say, well, I built my own house, a lot of people would love to build their own home, but they make it act like you're lazy. It's like, no, I don't have $500,000 to buy land and build my own house. Did you have $500 when you were at that age? They're going to say absolutely not. So it's like, well, I know the money is different, but like the money that we have is worth less.
Yes.
It's always declining. And that's the thing that they're trying to, they set the standard that needs to be the same, and it's not right. And then they shame you for it. But that's what I'm saying. You're just a pawn for them. So it is sociopathic because they're not compassionate to certain changes that have happened. That it's like, I don't think some boomer necessarily worked harder than I did.
Yep.
I don't believe that.
Well, and what I want to say, you started with talking about their I want to say their political what would you call it? Advocacy, right? It's all performative, and it is without substance. It's without a greater understanding of what actually is going on in this world. And I'll give you an example. So I was going back and forth with somebody that was involved with the Gaza protests, right?
Mhm.
And I told him, I said, if you're this worried about genocide, I want to know why you've never said anything about like Tibet or the Uyghurs in China. That's an even bigger genocide. They were not. They acted insulted. Like they were not worried in the least about. They treated that like it was a distraction.
Because it's
You know what
not
I'm
the
saying?
same social
Because
credit.
Right, because that's what they were really going after. They were going after how it made them look. It's all performative. They weren't actually interested in like actually doing anything about like events that happen in on our planet. They're not interested in actually changing the living circumstances for the people that are living in Gaza. They want to be seen advocating against Israel and for those people. They want the social credit for doing that. That's what makes it completely disingenuous to me. And like another example, this goes even farther back. Do you remember that movie Fahrenheit 9/11?
Sort of.
It was Michael Moore's original bit. Like he did a Bowling for Columbine, and then his big one was Fahrenheit 9/11, right?
Yeah.
And it was about the 9/11 attacks, and then and then our involvement in Iraq, right? And there was a scene in that movie where feminists and this was in the segment right before 9/11 happened, okay? And it was right in the beginning of the Bush administration, and the Taliban came to Texas to tour the state, right?
Yeah.
It was just to
hang out with the Bushes.
Yeah, but
Kind
also
of.
to improve relationships between Afghanistan and America. And this is like a legitimate thing. This is like what we do, right? And so they visited, and there were feminists. This was like the old school flock of feminists that actually had some principles about like what they were actually entertaining. They drove hours to show up to these meetings with the Taliban and harass them and condemn them for the way that they treated women. Okay. So that was like the old school feminists that I was like used to when I was a younger man. Right. These were feminists who had principles and actually believed in women's liberation.
It's funny.
Nobody likes it.
Oh, sorry to interrupt. It's funny because the feminists and the women in Afghanistan, they each got stoned. Oh,
but hold on, because that goes exactly where I'm going. The feminists back then were clapping when we took the Taliban out of power. They valued us changing the regime there because that's 14 million people that are 14 million women that can become educated, right? The feminists of today, right? They were celebrating our withdrawal from Afghanistan. It was ridiculous.
Yeah.
The feminists of today are marching with the Islamists that oppress.
Yeah, because that
grape. I'm gonna use a different word. That grape women that believe in using grape as a state punishment, that murder women, and these feminists, these woke feminists of today, are marching right along with the most oppressive regime on the face of the planet, and that is Islamism to women.
Yeah.
Think
Well,
about that.
They got psyoped into that through college somehow or something.
Somehow,
It doesn't make
it's
any
called
sense.
the Democratic Party.
Yeah, because they're nuts. Yeah. Yeah.
Joe, you could never get an old school feminist in the room with an Islamic imam in the 1990s without a fight breaking out between those two people.
Yeah. Yeah.
Today, they're all marching for some stupid cause. They're marching together because they hate American values. And it really has become, like, I'm sorry, but the politics have really become, if you believe in America and support Americans, right, then you vote Republican. If you don't, you vote Democrat. That's literally how it's become.
Yeah. And back to the stoning of the women that they do in some of these other countries, which again, I don't really
many countries.
Yeah, many countries. Yeah. I'm not saying I agree with that or anything. Like that's their. I don't really think that should be my business. I'm not a fan of it, but I remember as a kid when I first heard about that, and I heard that they'll bury a woman part way so she can't escape, and they keep throwing stones at her, and
until
I kept saying
dead.
like, yeah, and like I didn't real because I thought about it for a minute. I was like, geez, I wonder like that must take like a while. Do you have to just throw like a little bit of stones or a lot?
No, when they stone these women to death, Joe, it's they're not throwing little pebbles, they mean to damage and to kill.
Boulders,
and it's savage and barbaric. I'm not going to hold back in saying it. Like it is a 4th century mindset inside Islam.
It is, yeah.
They believe only in a prophet that lived in the year 400, and they have not gotten out of that mentality.
Yeah.
And so everything that was okay back then still should be okay now to them.
Yeah.
And that's like I'll give you a ridiculous story. And this happened in Iran, and this is part of the article that I sent you, right? So a Kurdish woman, the Iranian religious police arrested her, and the Kurds are a minority population in Iran. They arrested her for because the tips of her hair were showing underneath her hijab. And you're not allowed to do that. You're not allowed to show hair as a woman, right? They arrested her, beat her, and during her quote unquote re-education for the religious laws in Iran, they raped her, and her judge raped her. They found her guilty of blasphemy, and then they hung her because in being a woman that was raped, she now was a whore and committed adultery against her husband. And this was a 17-year-old girl who was married. Imagine that happening to your daughter.
Wow.
That's like, like you can't make that
heard
up.
This one through the grapevine.
but you can't make it up. A regime stoning a woman because she's raped on a bus.
Yeah. Let's try to say grape. Just
sorry. Yeah.
No, it's okay. I don't mind you saying it, but YouTube
no, I get it. It's your stream.
but also too, like this is kind of what I'm saying with Iran and these other things. Like they're on the other side of the planet. I don't really view that as my business.
So I'll be the other side of the coin. At a certain point, when you've been exposed to this, exposed to these cultures, exposed to this violence, there's a part of me that very much agrees with you. And then there's another part where I want to say, if you saw it happen in front of you, or you were there, you would
then
feel,
it would definitely change my mind for sure.
You would feel some kind of way because you and I are very human. and you and I would not allow those things to happen in front of us. Do you know what I'm saying?
No, I wouldn't.
I've seen that stuff happen. So for me, it's very different. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
For me, this is not just a story. I've seen it happen in front of me.
Yeah,
So,
but I'm also going to say this. I don't think that we should go over there to try to tell them how to live. And we're never going to change their mindset in the Middle East. It's always going to be the same. It always has been. That's why I don't want to be involved in anything over there.
So if you adopt that, mentality, that necessitates that then we keep them out of our country and our culture.
Yeah,
if you adopt that mentality, then the understanding needs to be that these people then should not be allowed to come here.
Yeah, because I don't agree with that way of life.
So their culture is so alien and it conflicts directly with our values.
Yeah,
that they are incompatible and will not assimilate into American society.
That's fine by me. I don't need any carpets made over here. I'll be okay.
Yeah, no, look, it's just, it's an either or. Either you can't have both. You know what I mean? Like I remember Asmongold talking about this. Like you can't have like things like government subsidized healthcare. You cannot have like all these social safety nets and then have an open border.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
I get it. Yeah.
If you have a high trust society and you want these expensive programs, then you need to have borders and enforce them, because those programs cost the American taxpayer a lot of money.
Yeah.
We're trying to have open borders according to the Democrats, and then have universal health care and all of these other things that are a magnet for people in the third world.
Yeah.
It has to be an either or.
Yeah.
I'm just calling it objectively.
Yeah.
Hey, buddy, great conversation. I got to run. I'll catch you later, okay?
Okay, yeah, see ya.
Have a good night.
Yep. And he meant to say either whore. Oh! Okay, let's get back to this video here. Just to recap it. It's only like a minute in. It's about boomers. And I want to acknowledge what Dante's Inferno was saying here about the boomers. So when I'm saying boomers, I am using kind of a broad brush here. I'm not trying to attack anyone. And obviously, I'm not saying every single boomer without exception was like this way or anything like that. I'm using it as a little bit of a broad brush. And the reason I was talking about it is a boomer will send you over to die in a heartbeat. They don't care if it boomers are the first people to exploit Mexicans and illegal aliens and all this stuff. They love it. They won't pay them. They don't want them to have health care. They play both sides of things to where it only benefits them. So I'm not exactly sure. So Dante's Inferno saying the boomers you're referring to before 1954, Generation Jones, was a distinct generation from 1954 to 1965. Generation Jones are in grade school during the hippies. Yeah. So I'm going to say boomers is a broad brush, but I don't want to, if someone in here is a boomer or something, I think you guys know that I'm not talking about every single boomer ever and stuff like that. I am, making things with a broad brush, so to speak. Okay. Yeah. Boomers are the exploiter generation. Yeah, they do. They're the ones who exploit, like they exploit people the most. And they kind of like it a little bit. And then they shame you for not like working as hard as they did. But it's like they didn't really actually work that hard. They just exploited harder. Okay.
Sociopath. What do you see the difference is between these folks and how are they responding to this and subsequent generations?
Sure. Well, something like close to 70 million Americans did appear to like a sociopath to one degree or another a few months ago. So, but
does that surprise anyone here?
I think the salient difference between the boomers and the generations that came before and the generations that came after are a set of behaviors that I do think correspond to the clinical indicators for sociopathy. So,
Which are?
Sure. So just to summarize, it's basically me first and damn the consequences. But to go.
Exactly. It also, I'm pretty sure sociopath means lack of empathy. And our current system, that helps you more than hurts you, because you're like, well, I don't give a damn about anyone else. I'm just going to get what's mine, and to hell with the consequences, or to hell with how it's going to like affect the next few generations. I just get mine, and to hell with you. Hey, I got mine, buddy. I don't care if you got yours. I need to have mine. I don't care if we can even both have it.
Run through the list. It's improvidence, so an inability to plan for the future. You can see this in cohort savings rates, which
Inability to plan for the future
start falling when the boomers enter the workforce. They really just don't save for their future. And you know, if you're much under 50, you're going to find that out when your parents start coming to you for help. Same thing applies nationally on Social Security, right? So all these personal behaviors translate into international policy. Climate is another sort of indicator of both improvidence and lack of empathy. So they don't really care that much about people other than themselves. Even strange things like an inability to form lasting relationships. You can see this like in the rates of divorce, which are generationally unique at comparable points in marriage. So we only really have data for younger generations through.
Yeah, boomers really started a lot of divorces being more popular and took a lot of the shame out of it.
About the 10th year of marriage. So, but if you look at the 10th year of marriage for younger generations versus the prime boomers, you actually see that the rates of divorce have been declining for the younger people. So they can't even, you know, sort of, so not only are they different from prior generations who were sort of famously like, you know, they couldn't get divorced, they were going to stay in it for the children, what have you. They're actually different from their children as well, who were raised in a much more permissive environment and an era of no fault divorce, no easy divorce. And you can populate the entire clinical checklist this way. And you can see also how it matches to national policy. So, you know, sociopaths tend not to plan for the future. And there's been really a massive subsidence in.
What other people plan not to tend for the future and only care for themselves? Modern day 304s.
And investments in infrastructure, research and development, all things where the payoffs could be
saved. Do they care about the future? Do they care about anything else but themselves? No.
Expected to occur after the boomers' lifetimes, and much more towards consumption. So they'd rather allocate those dollars to themselves.
Okay, so you are a smart dude and you use a lot of big words. So let's just distill this for all the people. Basically, boomers, improvident, they don't save, they don't prepare, right? They also lack empathy, a sociopathic trait. They don't really care. You're saying what happens to the earth, and they aren't good at saving in making decisions, right? So how has that
or figuring out what's a psyop or what's bullshit and what's not, things like that too. Well, actually, they probably do know some of it's fake, but they have a boat, so they don't care.
Filtered through your book, and how did it prove out? Like, what did you learn after positing that these people are all sociopaths, and what happens to them now?
Right. So I don't posit that all boomers are sociopaths. I just suggest that a very large fraction of them are, and that actually the National Institute of Mental Health conducted a survey in the 1980s. It's one of the few large-scale surveys ever done on American mental health. And they found significantly higher levels of sociopathy in boomer age cohorts then, and speculated that it would get worse over time, and I think it has. And the way that's played out would be irrelevant but for one fact, and that's that the boomers are an enormous generation and have had the opportunity to influence national policy. And within the framework of policy, they're all more or less the same age. And they've cohered rather uniquely instead of on the traditional lines of sort of race or gender or
exactly,
class,
Memphis,
on age-based criteria. So the first and most famous, obviously, was the age-based draft during the Vietnam War. And then rather oddly, they all rallied around, as soon as they got the vote, around lowering the drinking age for themselves. That drinking.
So there is a self-interested behavior.
Strongly.
That actually was fun for some people.
It was fun for some people, but frequently fun has consequences for other people.
Doesn't it? It sure does. Yeah.
So when I was born in 1976, the national debt, which is going to be your problem, my problem, children's problem.
Children's problem.
Right, was about 34% of GDP on a gross basis, and today it's 105%. And the CBO projects it's going to be at World War II levels by the end of Boomer tenure. Boomers were an absolute majority of the electorate in the early 1980s.
I'm not sure when this book is. This could be a few years old, this interview, but it's still pretty relevant.
And now, so they controlled both the House and the presidency by the early 1990s. And even after 2016, obviously we have a Boomer in the White House again, and they still have a supermajority in the House. And in the book, I do focus mainly on mainstream white Boomers who had a fairly homogenous upbringing, and less so on the minority experience because they had a much more diverse and much different experience. And I think that's what allows one to sort of make certain generalizations about a generation which might otherwise be harder to make, right? So the 1950s that they grew up in were not sort of notorious for their incredible diversity, right? Conformity is the word that leaps to mind. They were all kind of raised in the same way. And they subsequently all sort of behaved in highly similar ways, at least on the policy front.
Mm-hmm. We will talk some more about this, but if you're just joining us, I'm joined today by Bruce Cannon-Gibney. I said that right? And his new book, A Generation of Sociopaths, How the Baby Boomers Betrayed America. And he has a fairly controversial thesis that many, not all, of the baby boomer generation exhibit sociopathic behavior, and that it has thus contributed negatively to the standing of the country, the recent electorate, and that the boomers have squandered the greatest inheritance in history, and that they are shamelessly irresponsible about crises from entitlements to the environment, among other things. So how did you decide which population to study within the boomers? Because you just...
Yeah, remember how they want you to have some like electric car, 4-cylinder car. They got to have the huge V8, the unleaded, the leaded gas and all this stuff, dump oil into the ocean, and they do whatever they wanted. But no, you have to change now. You have to live cleaner.
Mentioned that it was broken down against, across class lines and perhaps racial, ethnic lines.
Right. So I really approached it sort of like a litigator and engineer. I looked at the numbers and I looked for the flow of money, and I wondered who was benefiting and why, and over what period of time the economy had stagnated. So what you'd expect to see is, as boomers take formal power, it would probably take 2 or 3 years for that power to translate into policy and effect. And so you expect to see sort of a rising tide of scandal and corruption and disaster and indifference to the future from, let's say, the mid to late 1990s on, and then the economic consequences of stagnation and rising debt thereafter. And that is, in fact, what happened. And as you look for the people who were in power, they were all boomers, essentially. 79% of the House in 2008, a notable year, were boomers. And their constituents, the political constituents, were boomers. They were the most important electorate. There were more white boomer voters in the 1990s than there were of all minorities combined.
I have a question coming in.
This lady took some Adderall or something before this.
From our audience here in the the interwebs and Facebook, which I think is important because it's a contrast. What are some good things that boomers have created?
So there are large parts of America that are still highly functional, and my premise is not that of the president. I don't. So implicit in "Make America Great Again" is that America is not great now. I actually do. America is better now than it was when I was born.
And we do all also have, I think, generationally, the premise that every generation wants to do better for its children than we were able to do,
Not boomers, really.
Than the parents were able to do. And so
we've seen this with mother and daughter. The mother doesn't like it when the daughter is hotter and everything. We've seen the competition of it. Maybe not so much with boomers per se, but just mothers in general. We have started to see that a little bit more.
Is that happening?
No, it's not. There is a paper from Brookings, and there's plenty of data in the book. So cohorts that were, in their 20s to 30s in the 1980s, those sort of boomerish cohorts, experienced substantially rising incomes over their working lives. That's much less true today. I think most of your viewers who are much under 30 will have viewed the past decade, the first decade of their working lives, as at best a wash. And certainly substantially below expectations. And the literature suggests that basically you never recover from early life income losses. So there's already sort of a tangible effect, even for people who are just entering the workforce. and that's disappointing. And I think the greater challenge over the long term is the boomers inherited a country that, whatever its difficulties in the 1970s, the 1970s, by the way, were not the total disaster show that they've been made out to be. They were bad, but they weren't as bad as the most recent Great Recession. So average wages experienced growth, even though there was a huge population of boomers looking for work, even though we were just recovering from a war, even though there were exogenous crises like the oil crisis that caused any number of problems. But all the freeways are great, dams weren't bursting, but,
and now 40 years later,
right?
It's like a scene from a CGI movie with like just stuff falling down and things leaking and overflowing, and we really do have a lot of infrastructure problem.
We do. I mean, there are actually states where there are no inspectors of dams, right? So
can you imagine? Like, look at
Damn.
California. Look at what's happening.
And California's a good state.
Yes, it's amazing. Although we'll see if the current administration actually does one of the things that they said, and Mr. Trump said, and bringing more jobs and infrastructure.
I'm sure he will to certain areas. So if he wants infrastructure, there were projects that were ready to go, like high-speed rail and electrification of trains in California. Obviously, California is the home of godless Clintonistas, so that funding was pulled earlier this week.
And Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Who
he loves.
Who's great, who's not a boomer. He's an immigrant. I exclude from my calculations immigrants because they don't have the same sort of relatively homogenous upbringing.
That's interesting.
But I think the blue states, which is where the people live and where the money are going to be screwed, if I can say that on.
Go ahead.
All right, I think blue states.
We're
I think
screwed
you're going to be
here in
screwed.
New York.
I also want to make this kind of connection. Blue state means Jew state.
And we're going to be held hostage by the red states. So the blue states are actually net exporters of, let's just be honest, it's welfare to the central states. And the degree of subsidy is going to deepen under this administration because that's where the present administration's base lies. So even though the obvious place to spend on infrastructure is where there are a lot of people crammed into one place producing real economic output, we're going to build more bridges to nowhere or, highways in the middle of Iowa. And that's how things are going to go. Meanwhile, New York is going to experience funding losses. California is going to experience funding losses. Even the proposals about reforming taxes are in some ways an attack on the younger, more liberal coasts. So that once you eliminate the deductibility of state income taxes, for example, you're punishing working people, that is to say, younger people, the boomers who are approaching retirement or are already retired. And you're punishing liberal values.
We could really get deep into some of the ironies in the statistics that you just cited, but then we would be here all day. Much as I would like to, that'd be really interesting. I mean, they'll sort of like, we're going to create these jobs in this outdated industry, and so nobody will be on welfare, but the wealthy states will export more people. So there's all kinds of contradictions. But I think I wanted to go back to what you said about the millennials and the generation and the descendants of the boomers. How did the boomer behavior as parents perhaps negatively affect their children, and how they have perceived this world of entitlement and the behaviors that are often mocked, in comedy and so forth at the moment? Because, this is like the millennials, people who have no consciousness. All the studies show that I've seen anyway, that they only want to do jobs that have a social relevance or,
Yeah. So a lot of boomers too want you to be what they were not able to do, and they can live vicariously through that and take the credit. So they want you to be wicked disciplined, but they weren't. They want you to be things that they were not, and they will be a helicopter parent over you instead of just letting you be a kid, because you are an extension of their vanity. And this has happened probably through all generations, for a long time. But we see this a lot where they want to, and I'm not saying there's anything wrong with living vicariously through your children, but they want it to be a pawn for them. Oh, like you have to go be a doctor or do something that you don't really want to do. And if you don't go to college, you're a complete idiot loser if you're just going to be a laborer or something like that. So a lot of it, they were doing that to protect their own ego in it.
some sort of social benefit, and yet they don't want to get out of bed and go to work. So,
yeah, I don't know how many of those studies I believe. I think the millennial, and to the extent that people want to do jobs that have social meaning, I think that's a good thing. This may be one way in which the boomers have actually done pretty well, is I think they raised their children as best they could on an individual level. Unfortunately, they pursued policies that are going to make it very difficult for their children to sort of, as they used to say, be all they can be. Because in 2030, when we inherit this mess, we'll have World War II levels of debt, we'll have unaddressed climate change, Social Security will be about to run partially insolvent. That happens in 2034, coincidentally, right around the actuarially forecasted demise of the median boomer, and so on down the line. And for however much young people want to do a good job, when you arrive at a very stressful period in history, where all the problems were in fact actually avoidable, and that's the true tragedy, asking people to behave incredibly selflessly gets harder and harder. And in the
Like, here's the thing. They could have multiplied the wealth instead of multiplying the debt. That's part of the problem.
point, it's not a probable outcome. And so no matter how good the millennials are, and they're a very diverse generation, much harder to characterize than the boomers, who are sort of...
And I'm not saying millennials or any generation is necessarily better either.
78% white.
Some millennials are just completely cringe.
And all raised roughly the same way, and the millennials are much more pluralistic and diverse and of different backgrounds. The boomers have bequeathed a situation which may make it extremely difficult for the millennials to live up to their own aspirations.
okay, so I'm now thoroughly depressed. It's only 12:30 on a 11:30 on a Tuesday. But to borrow from host Ryan Seacrest, tell me something good. Is there something that we can do now
This lady sucks.
in future policy to correct some of the mistakes of the boomer generation?
Yeah, absolutely. The window of time is short, but fortunately we have elections every 2 years and every 4 years. So in 2018, I think people, younger people especially, 2018, by the way, is the first time the millennials will outnumber the boomers as I define them. We can start voting against these policies. I didn't think there was a realistic chance of that happening in 2016, and in fact, it did not happen. But in 2018, there will be a chance in the midterms. In 2020, there will definitely be a chance to have a referendum about what is happening now. And we can pursue much more pro-social policies. We can try and fix Social Security. It's much cheaper to do now than it is to do later. We can try and address the climate in a truly serious way. So this month's decision to undo the Obama administration's entire environmental legacy is unhelpful, and that cost will come back.
These are two liberals, I think, here. Let me go to a different news organization now. These guys over here, Redacted, are actually pretty good. I don't really watch them as much as I should, but they do a pretty good job.
As a funny way of sorting people out. Some generations build amazing things, some generations defend freedom, and then some, well, they destroy everything their parents fought for. So I wanted to talk today about the worst generation in American history, the baby boomers. And if you're a boomer watching today on our show, I'm not talking about you, because you're awake, you're a part of the solution, not a part of the problem. But let's start with some comparisons here and some context. The greatest generation came home from World War II after defeating fascism. And what do they do?
And what so here's the thing too. That greatest generation was selfless. The boomer generation is selfish. That's the core foundational thing about it. They're actually more like women, a lot of boomers, because they're selfish and they exploit others and only care about what they get out of a situation. That's how they view how to like survive.
Do next, they built things. They laid down roads, they created jobs, they invented the American suburbs, they gave us the interstate highway system, NASA, the booming middle class. They forged a real economy where a single income could actually buy a home, raise a family, put kids through school. Imagine that. In other words, the greatest generation actually created the American dream. And
they gave it to us. Well, they gave it to boomers who kind of just got high and bought like stuff on Reaganomics credit.
Then the baby boomers showed up. liberal baby boomers, mostly liberal, or rhinos as well, showed up and basically destroyed everything. They inherited greatness, and then they burned it all to the ground. For stock options.
They were not stewards of anything, really. And yes, it's easy for me to sit here and be a Monday morning quarterback about it, but one other thing about boomers that I want to say: materialism is their god. For boomers, materialism is their god. I'll say one other time. For boomers, materialism is their god. And that sums up a lot of it right there. They're largely godless people. I grew up Catholic. A ton of them pretend to be Catholic, and they sin their ass off all the time. They don't really believe in anything except materialism being their god. And you need to be a sheep. Boomers love it. Boomers love being a sheep because when they were being a sheep and being ignorant and just working their 9 to 5, it wasn't that bad. Again, because they had a boat, they had a lake house. They weren't really that tight for money. They could smoke in the workplace. They could do more stuff. The women were much more in check too. That also helps a lot. The women at least were a little bit more traditional then than they are now. All those things, just those 3 things right there are huge.
And liberal universities did that to them on purpose.
Well, and also, yes, I mean, if Bill Clinton was a part of that process of putting America, Teach for America in place, and
the influence of liberal universities did do that, but they still had the free will and the right to reject it and not buy into the horse shit.
Activist teachers, and so it was all part of a plan. They inherited this greatness, and then they burned it to the ground for some stock options, some book deals, some beachfront homes. They didn't just squander the American dream. They sold it off to China, sold it off to Vietnam, sold it off.
Yep, and what he's talking about is our manufacturing. The clothes are made in Vietnam. The cars are made in China. Everything. I just bought a wood splitter today that says that it's an American company, but then you look at it, everything is made in China. They just put a sticker on it over here. That's not in-house manufacturing. That's not giving your neighbor a job. That's not incentivizing. Hey, if I buy my wood splitter from here, it's giving Johnny down the road he gets to, he did the welding on it, and that helps, and then he takes the money that he got from doing the welding and he may buy some tree work from me or something like that. They've effed up that entire cyclical way of the money that went and messed up real American pride too. Because no one cares about any product. If you were to go in your kitchen right now, 90% of everything is made in China. And that stuff should be made here. And people should be getting paid a good wage for it. Instead, they'll have a kid do it. They'll have stuff made by children in another country to save a little bit of money.
To Mexico.
The thing that pisses me off, they wanted to save money when they had an abundance of money and credit at the same time. That pisses me off.
And more. Want proof? Just look at NAFTA, for crying out loud. Signed by boomer-in-chief himself, Bill Clinton, in the 1990s. They're surrounded by Republicans. You had George H.W. Bush there. You had Al Gore there. You had a lot of different, it was the Uniparty of boomers. They were all there signing that in 1990s. It was sold to us, of course, as a pathway to prosperity in the United States of America. In reality, almost immediately after signing it, America lost over 1 million manufacturing jobs from NAFTA, almost immediately.
That basically means that we sold out to China. Yeah. Yeah, but we barely assemble it here. So you know what we assemble if you get like a Subaru car or something, all that plastic snap-on shit that's not even like a nut and bolt, that's put on here. They put a sticker on something here, like you get a DeWalt drill or something, they put a sticker on it or do one thing to say that it's kind of made here. It's not made here, unfortunately.
Millions of jobs going south of the border to Mexico. Ross Perot, of course, wasn't a boomer. He was born in 1930 during the Great Depression, before NAFTA was signed. Ross Perot warned all of us on the campaign trail when he was running against Bill Clinton and George H.W. Bush, and he was winning, by the way. He warned all of us that if we signed NAFTA, that we'd hear a giant sucking sound going south. Watch.
To those of you in the audience who are business people, pretty simple. If you're paying $12, $13, $14 an hour for factory workers, and you can move your factory south of the border, pay $1 an hour for labor, hire a young 25, that's assuming you've been in business for a long time, you've got a mature workforce. Pay $1 an hour for your labor, have no health care, that's the most expensive single element making a car, have no environmental controls, no pollution controls, and no retirement, and you don't care about anything but making money, there will be a giant sucking sound going south.
Oh boy, was he right. They all laughed.
Yeah, yeah. But what are those things? That's selling out your own country. Instead of paying the guy down the road a fair living wage, which he deserves and should have, you're going to exploit some brown person. Like, that's another thing. Boomers are pretty racist too. They will exploit a Mexican like you can't believe. They'll have them work like a dog for like no money. And that's what a ton of subcontractors and stuff do. Oh, I'll just have the Mexican do all the roofing, and I'll just get paid actually more than he did for setting the job up. I'm really starting to hate that big time. It's exploiting people. That's where the no empathy is. It's not like we'll have to sing Kumbaya all the time, but it's like, it's very strange how they live like that. Yeah, at least half of Harley. Yeah. So I used to be a Buell rider. Buell motorcycles actually are made in the United States and in Wisconsin, but they used to partner with Harley. And Harley, like, you go into the Harley store and get like a cover for a clutch cover or something like that, and it would say "Made in China" in the back. Yeah, if you drive Harley Davidson now, you're a simp. You're a sheep simp. Buy a goddamn Buell. Like a man.
They all laughed at him. They all made fun of him. Dana Carvey made fun of him. Sadly, he dropped out of the race. That was 1991 during the race for the White House. Clinton signed NAFTA, of course, in 1992 after he became president of the United States. And since 1997, we've lost over 90,000 factories in the United States. That's according to the Bureau of Labor Statistics in the United States and the U.S. Census. 90,000 factories closed.
Yeah. And what he's talking about, because I've been to Gary, Indiana, and Detroit and stuff, these places where they're manufacturing. If you grow up there, you're absolutely cooked. Absolutely cooked. There's nothing you can do. You have no prospects. Like, you could maybe sell drugs, but no one even really has money to buy the drugs. You're absolutely cooked. And that's what another thing that these people don't care about.
Entire towns completely gutted. And as Steve Eisman pointed out yesterday, the free trade baby boomers were dead wrong about NAFTA.
I think what's going on here is you have to go back to the 90s when Clinton was pushing NAFTA and China entering the WTO. And he basically made two arguments: that free trade would improve GDP growth and would create a lot of...
Before this guy says this, part of what happens with free trade and capitalism is a monopolistic system always ends up rising. You get the JP Morgans, you get those type of people who are literal sociopaths, and they're willing to exploit people. So eventually they rise to the top. So this is a side note.
Jobs. And he was right on the former, and he was dead wrong on the latter. And, if you travel this country, there are parts of this country that would have been devastated over the last 25 years because of free trade, because they didn't just lose their jobs, they lost their towns.
Exactly.
Yeah. This is what's happening to America right now. Okay. America is being gutted. America is being destroyed. And it's all by our own doing. We better pay attention, folks. Like, we better wake up and pay attention. This is the primary concern for the United States of America right now. The real dirty story is that the boomers got rich off of all of this. Made a lot of money off of it.
And they're just sitting collecting home equity.
Called it free trade, but it was economic treason. Even some boomers are starting to admit it. Back in 2017, former Clinton aide Paul Begala unexpectedly wrote an essay highlighting the destruction of America at the hands of baby boomers. It's published in Esquire magazine. Here was the cover story. There's this boy, Bill Clinton, right
Yep.
on the cover. And then if you just scroll down a little
Yep,
bit here
Clayton's
as
right.
we pan down the article, The Worst Generation, or How I Learned to Stop Worrying and Hate Boomers by Paul Begala. They acknowledged it, the worst generation. In it, he confessed the truth. The baby boomers are the most destructive generation in America, he wrote. Wow.
And they're the most gaslighting one. Because I'm so sick of hearing the pull yourself up by your bootstraps. Like I'm already working. I worked harder than you did already. And I take more risks than you did. And I have less money. So they gaslight you into all this stuff too and be like, these kids today just don't want to work. Yeah, they don't want to work for a wage slave. You're right. They don't want to work for basically just food money only. Neither would you. And you didn't have to.
Gala didn't mean it as an attack, but he nailed it. The boomers inherited a global superpower and left us with a broken nation, rising debt, disillusioned youth. I mean, do you talk to like young people at all out there who, you know, maybe are in their 20s right now or trying to make it in their career? Like, they're completely disillusioned. You wonder why they voted for Trump in overwhelming numbers? They're sick of it. And now these same boomer elites are whining on social media about how Trump is ruining their stock portfolios.
Yeah,
One of the most
Clayton's
viral
right.
moments
Yeah.
happened this week on X the past few days. This sums it up perfectly. Tim Wise writes, hey, for all you MAGA cultists who keep saying the market slump doesn't matter because 20 and 30-year-olds have plenty of time to make up losses, seriously, what is your answer for people retiring now who thought they were good until your guy effed it up? What's your answer? Tough shit? To which this younger person writes my favorite response of all time. Yes, my answer is tough shit. Just like your generation's answer to millennials and Zoomers who were unable to get a job, buy a home, have a family, or save for our own retirement was, quote, tough shit. This is your karmic reckoning, carefully curated from the moment you abandoned the unwritten obligation every generation always had to leave the world a better place for the next generation. You stole our jobs. You stole our houses. You stole our pensions. You stole our rents. You stole our futures. You made the world infinitely worse for us.
Also, too, one thing that will come up into this is the developers. They put a strip mall up that looks like trash or urgent care in every goddamn corner, raping the woods everywhere you look. They don't give a damn about the natural environment. Never let them tell you they care about it.
In every way. Also, you could have a boost in your portfolio and spend a historically unprecedented 20 years at the end of your entitled lives sitting on a beach in Florida.
Yep.
You know why millennials and Zoomers don't care about what's happening right now? It's not because we think we'll make it up later. It's because we've already accepted we'll never make it up. This is a normal day for us. This has been our reality our entire effing lives. Welcome, enjoy, pull yourselves up by your bootstraps, skip the avocado toast, and print off a few resumes. Ouch. So boomers sold out our
and that's kind of also what I want is that hurts the psyche of young men and women today. And you're wondering why they're doing more drugs, being 304s, living just for in the moment. It's because they don't feel they have a future. They feel they're going to get drafted into World War III. So to hell with it. They, you know, if you're getting paid $15 an hour at a job and your rent is $1,000 a month, and that's not paying for your car or anything, you're realizing that you are a wage slave. You're a slave. And a lot of these other people they're perfectly okay with that. They say, well, I was a slave too, just not as bad as it was for you. So you just got to toughen up. You know, also too, where are they going to realize, hey guys, this is printed money that didn't mean anything? You know, when is that going to happen? I think we are going through some type of great reset thing. I mean, it's the only thing that has to happen. We have to have the old system burned down. We really do. These old paradigms burned down, these old belief patterns and stuff, you know. Hey, girls, just pull yourselves up by your IUD strings. Oh!
jobs, our wages, our future to China. And now they want sympathy because Trump put America before their investment portfolios. And Trump loves the stock market. Sorry, no tears here, but let's talk some real numbers. In the 1980s, the national debt was $907 billion. Imagine that. Wrap your heads around that. The national debt, $907 billion in America. Today, it's over $36 trillion. They ran up the credit card debt and handed us the bill. The average student loan debt right now, $37,000 for college in the United States. And what does it get you? By the way, tuition is up 1,200% in the U.S. since the 1980s. Boomers paid out $1,000 a year for college education. Did you guys know that? College education for boomers, $1,000. We get a 30-year debt sentence just to get a job that they already outsourced to Mexico and Vietnam. And it doesn't end there, by the way. In 1980, the median home price was $47,000. Today, $431,000 in the U.S.
Somebody says, I'm out. This anti-boomer rhetoric. This is not anti-boomers, the generation. This is anti-boomer leadership.
Yes.
It's what they did while you were working your ass off and you didn't know.
Yes.
So if you're a boomer, this is not to you.
And I said that at the beginning, by the way.
Yeah. So this is what they did behind your back. And my generation now is saying, we're going to watch them for what they did to our parents and us as the children of boomers.
Yeah.
So that's not for you. Don't start crying about this. This is not you.
Yes. And liberal,
unless you're Bill Clinton, then it is you.
Okay. It's the liberal boomers and rhino boomers, by the way, who are part of the uniparty that got us into this mess. And it's those who were born after World War II that tore down the greatest generation. So in 1980, the median home price was $47,000. Today, it's over $431,000.
Yeah. This is a big deal. And that's what I'm saying. They never cared about the debt or anything like that. They're like, oh, well, that to hell with them. That's someone else's problem. Same with global warming and stuff. You know, they're like, well, that's someone else's problem. That's what I'm saying. They actually like World War III stuff because they like the drama of it as they sit in their recliner and tell the neighbor's kid to go into war. They're going to become real patriotic real quick for when someone else has to do something. Another thing, too, they have this home equity that they feel so entitled to. It's like, well, you didn't create any value. Yeah, Memphis put, young people are out here having to use now, buy later, pay later services for essentials. Yeah, it's wrong. But that's what I'm saying. They just sit back and watch that and tell you to work harder. It's like, you know, it's really retarded. We actually could be in flying cars and stuff right now. We really could.
How are young people supposed to be able to work a job, buy a home at that price? It's nearly impossible. How are they going to do it? Boomers bought homes with single income, no college debt. One spouse stayed home, raised children, not anymore.
And they had much less stress of doing so. Non-GMO food, organic food and stuff. Wow.
We're drowning in inflation, gig work, and then we rent we can barely afford. According to the New York Fed, credit card
and boomers are going to totally F up the healthcare system big time. Here's another thing about boomers. They don't want to die. Well, I mean, no one wants to die, but they're going to use every resource they can to be a vegetable as long as they can. And they love that stuff. They love that.
Debt in America just passed $1.13 trillion for the first time ever. So not only can't they afford it, they're swimming in mountains of debt right now. These younger generations are not living lavishly. They're putting groceries on credit cards. Meanwhile, baby boomers own 53% of all the wealth in the United States. That's why there's so much crying this week on national
TV. You hear that? 53% of the wealth. And they'll sit on that wealth.
Television. By people like this, Jim Cramer. These boomers are the TV anchors. They're the TV guests that you see.
They're also your bosses, the shareholders. Anytime you hear somebody who's a shareholder, it's going to be some boomer piece of trash that doesn't care if you die so they get another dollar. 20% of government revenue goes just to pay the interest of our national debt. The only two ways out are default or inflate the currency into worthlessness. Yeah. Yeah, this is bad. And a boomer tells you, like, hey, you just need to open a company. Like, this is what they do. Because I have a company, okay? I don't like paying people cheap. I don't like it. I just don't like it. These boomers will pay a Mexican to kill himself and then pay him nothing and act like he's that. I hate that. I've always hated that. And that's what boomers want you to do, is just do the same thing where they just exploit stuff and get equipment. Like a boomer will just get a piece of equipment and just rent it out and act like he's giving value. They don't actually provide value. They just create debt
all the time. They own all the wealth in this country, so no wonder Jim Cramer is crying. And millennials, they own just 6% of the wealth, only 6% in the United States. That's why this shirt is going viral today, because millennials don't give a shit about baby boomers losing money in their stock portfolios. I survived the Trump recession from the 7th of April to the 9th of April, 2025. And just when you thought they couldn't mess up anything else, boomers even destroyed our showers and told us to use paper straws. They wanted to condescend and tell us all how to live our lives. In 1992, under Bill Clinton, boomer regulators passed federal regulation rules that restricted how much water could come out of your shower head, and then President Biden doubled down on it. Even Seinfeld mocked it at the time. Watch.
Hey, the super's in my bathroom changing my shower head. Have they changed your shower head?
No, he's doing mine next. They're low flow, you know.
Low flow? Well, I don't like the sound of that. Jerry! Jerry!
Another thing, who is your landlord? Probably a boomer.
Oh, yeah! These showers are horrible.
Yeah, that's right. Boomer tyranny rejected your own bathroom. Reached your own bathroom. The tyranny reached your own bathroom, and President Trump yesterday signed an executive order getting rid of it, by the way. So low flow nonsense, weak pressure. You need 10 minutes just to rinse shampoo out of your hair. So President Trump ended that yesterday. So the worst generation in American history, the baby boomers, destroyed everything, even showers. But the worse than that is the generation of war. How did this happen? They became the generation of loving wars. Boomers used to chant, "Make love, not war." Now they wave Ukrainian flags from their homes on Martha's Vineyard and beg for World War III. They gave us endless foreign wars. Really?
Yeah. And here's another thing that pisses me off the most. They stuck their head in the sand during 9/11. They never questioned anything. Come on. You never questioned anything at 9/11. Shame on you. Shame on you for that. And you just allow years of wars to happen, killing all throughout the Middle East. And you're sitting there, I'm an American patriot. They don't tread on me. Really? You have security camp. We live in a police state. You've allowed us to live in a police state.
Starting under Bill Clinton and into the Obama era. The Patriot Act surveillance under George W. Bush, another rhino, not a true conservative. Wall Street bailouts. No one went to prison.
Clayton.
Drag shows in elementary schools across the country. Pornography in our libraries for children.
Mm-hmm.
And fentanyl crisis killing hundreds of thousands of Americans a year. That's what they gave us. They didn't just ruin the economy. They destroyed the culture of America. Younger Americans, especially the working class, have had enough. We're not falling for these boomer lies anymore. We're not joining their wars. We're not chasing their degrees or paying for their broken system anymore. So President Trump has tapped into a generational fury right now that I think is getting worse by the minute. These younger generations are fed up.
Yeah.
With what
not only is Trump kind of a dumbass, he's a sellout simp to Israel. Trump is a simp of Israel. He simps to Israel constantly. Fuck Trump.
These boomers did to us, the same boomers who are now
And I
spending
voted
their
for
days
him.
going to pay George.
Trump is better than Kamala Harris, but like, you know, we're not doing that great here, guys. Yeah, Trump did a couple other things, but hey, remember that Doge money? Remember you're gonna get a check for that Doge money? What happened to that? Remember how we weren't supposed to be getting in any wars? What happened to that? Interesting.
Soros protests against Doge. Imagine being so clueless that you're upset that Doge is eliminating waste, fraud, and abuse in our government. It's all baby boomers showing up at these rallies, or largely, overwhelmingly, baby boomers.
This is true. This is true. In my town, I've been seeing this all the time. This is it. These exact two idiots will be all over the place, acting like they made a difference. No Ku Klux Klan. Okay. Wow. National Organization for Women. Wow. That looks like no world order. But yeah, this is who you'll see in your downtown protesting. And again, why are they making the signs out of like a freaking like
going up here
soup can box? Like this is your day. Can you make a better sign? At least this sign is actually kind of cool over here.
Very few young people.
Again, these people stand. This is their virtue signaling.
I love this one.
In fact, it started raining a little bit once because I was going to work and driving past these people, and they just packed it up because of a little bit of rain. They don't really believe in anything. This is just to make themselves feel better and to go kiss each other's ass.
Young liberal who went to a rally and was shocked that there were no young people, only seniors. Listen to this liberal upset about all of the seniors at these rallies. Watch.
Can I chime in real quickly? I just want to make sure. I did not censor this, so the original link.
Well, Trump may not necessarily be a warmonger, but the people who control Trump, Netanyahu and other various people are. Like the prison the military industrial complex owns everybody at the end of the day. So, you know what I mean? Like you got to kind of play ball, I guess. Yep, that's woke liberal white women. They'll be all over the place. Do you think has anyone holding a sign on the side of the road protesting ever changed your mind once? I know for me it hasn't.
Language is still in it.
Oh, okay.
I forgot to do that.
So you got a language warning.
Language warning, everyone. Listen to this liberal's dirty mouth. Watch.
I'm at the protest right now in New York City, anti-Trump, anti-fascist protest, and I have one question. Where the fuck is Gen Z? These people are cheering. They're talking like it's just the 60s. It's just like the 60s, and they're...
Yeah, so this is kind of where Matt was right. This is kind of a... boomers are viewing this as like Vietnam. This Iran conflict. This Iran stuff can be a big deal, guys. It really can be. And it's good that we're, stay more aware of what's happening. I know Matt, the other guy was on here earlier saying like he's worried if they get a nuke. Guys, like America is largely a terrorist organization too. We just don't realize it. We're going to put a McDonald's in your country and bring democracy. Like we have a fake democracy here. Gen Z, the only reason Gen Z is checked out, they've had the internet long enough to start to realize some of the bullshit. Millennials, half of them kind of realize some of its bullshit. This internet does enable a lot. But boomers, and Gen X kind of realize most of its bullshit, but boomers, I cannot believe that these boomers just watched 9/11 and never questioned any of it. We're talking people who are engineers, people who are work in aviation industry and all this. They never really questioned any of it. And that 9/11 was so massively important, and any of the adults in my lifetime, or I was, more of a kid when 9/11 happened, but they still can't look back at it. And that's just because I think boomers actually love psyops. I think that's kind of what it is. I think they actually love psyops. Let's see. Let me make, make sure I read some people's comments to keep the show interactive. Here's another one for you. I'm sure you'll probably agree, but most of my worst clients have always been, oh, hell yeah. This is half the reason I'm bitching about it. Because you get these boomers that are cheap clients or customers that are cheap as hell. And they always say, like, oh, yeah, well, I have the same chainsaw that you have. It's actually better than yours, but I need you to cut my trees for me and do it for like no money and risk yourself getting hurt and shit. You just got to pull yourself up by your boots. Yeah. They are some of the worst clients. And that's what I was saying before. They have the money and they're still a cheap fuck all the time. Yeah. Trump. So Clayton's right. Well, let me read this first. Trump was a disruptor during his first term. Then he pulled out all the stops to keep him from getting reelected. Trump had to sell his soul for the second term. Who did he sell his soul to? Israel. Trump became a small hat when Jared Kushner married his daughter. Like he went there and kissed the wall and did everything and became a small hat for real. So like, so he's not been a small hat this whole time, but he serves at their pleasure. And the military industrial complex. So, we don't need to simp for Trump, guys. A lot of people try to do it. Like, don't simp for him just because he's not Kamala Harris. Yes, but Trump is a disruptor, which is kind of good, but he's not disrupting enough in the right ways, in the right places.
Having conversations and walking slowly, there's no fight here. There's no youth here. It's all 30-somethings and their children, and then seniors. And God bless everybody who showed up today, but I'm really fucking disappointed in the youth turnout. Where is the youth turnout? This is your future that is going to be impacted by the actions of the Trump.
They know their future's cooked. That's why they're not going to protest. They're actually kind of smarter than that.
Administration.
Yeah, really. It's the Trump administration's fault. Yeah, you know where they are? Where are these young people? They're at their jobs. They're probably working hard, actually. Probably
this is it, guys. They print the money. It's not backed by gold. You're being scammed. We're all being scammed for the fiat currency to enslave you, to keep you down. It's ridiculous.
Working very hard to try to put food on the table right now to actually sustain a living while these boomers are out there protesting Elon Musk.
Well,
Donald Trump, go ahead.
Yep.
Did you see DoorDash enthusiastically added financing to their, like you can order their food now through DoorDash and finance it?
What?
Through like a firm and things like that.
Oh my God. That's how bad it's gotten now. Yeah,
guys, that's slavery. That's slavery, basically.
Burger.
Yes.
Yeah, you almost need to. And I'm really thinking about how are young people going to be able to afford their future? I mean, yesterday we went for lunch. We took our son because he had a doctor's appointment. So we popped over and went and got a little lunch. And just for the three of us, for like a real basic, real simple, small lunch, it was like over $40.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, there's no way. And it wasn't, we didn't sit down, didn't have service, table service. Anyway, it was just real fast. And it was crazy. $40. How are young people going to afford their future? So they're working. They're not hanging out these George Soros funded protests.
Right. And think of who this leadership class of the Bushes and the Clintons.
What do you just say? George Soros funded protests. How many times have I told you guys, or a lot, mostly on AJ's stream and other times, half of those people are paid protesters or paid to inflate a scenario like the synagogue thing. And I pointed a few of them out to you because I could just tell by how they look. They're only getting paid like $200 a day. It's not even much money. Maybe being a paid agitator, you get more, and that's someone who will really start breaking windows and stuff like that. It's nuts. But anytime this is the thing that I want you guys to look for in the future. Anytime you're at any of these protests or something, and they're saying, hey, ho, ho, Trump has got to go or something. Anytime they're doing that hey, ho, ho thing, that's 100% a George Soros-led, the PSYOP, low effort thing. You're like, that's the best you can do is this little gay chant, hey, ho, ho, Trump has got to go. Yeah, we're showing him. It's a photo op. So much of this world is theater.
Did they protect? Right. So they gave all of this lip service to, oh, we're protecting the elderly from frauds and scams. While we were in college, we got predatory credit cards in our student union mailed to us ad nauseum with inflated educational prices. Who was protecting the young people then? Right. And it wasn't. And again, most of us just didn't know because it was done under the guise of so many nonsensical logic. So much not, we're never told the truth.
Yeah. Clayton's right. In fact, I think it was Saturday or Sunday. I was up kind of earlier before work, and I went out to my downtown to get breakfast. And when I went to the downtown, and I think it was maybe the Saturday the 28th, and I didn't know that they were supposed to have these protests all over the place and stuff like that. So I showed up, and there was one couple there, and they had the box of all the pre-made signs. So these people didn't even show their signs. They didn't even bother to make their own sign of a message that they cared about. They were in a freaking Rubbermaid box, so they didn't have to bring it there. It was so retarded. So retarded. Well, they have crisis actors, but they have crisis inflators as well, who are there to say the right thing at the right time, or just read a script, basically, and just to be in front of the camera, to look tattered and stuff like that. It is a real thing.
And the one thing that
those people will sell out their own country for $200. Like, they don't care. A lot of them just they don't even understand what's going on.
This generation of leaders was really good at was a bait and switch. We're doing great things here while we're doing things over here. It's taken years to unravel everything that they did.
Yeah. And
and you know what else they messed up is in the health area. Are we a healthier people? No. Are we a more vaccinated people? Yes. The level of vaccinations has gone up so much. If you're a baby born in like 1980 and then a baby born today, you're just vaccinated to the point where you're literally autistic. That's a part of what we have. Why hasn't anyone noticed that or said anything from that generation, noticing, geez, when I was a kid, they didn't have all these autistic kids and stuff now, huh? I don't care. I'm just going to watch football. That's pretty much the extent of it. It's like, guys, you've been watching the ship sink. You're watching a sinking ship here and just not really giving a shit about it. They've done that with all the medical industries, all the things like the dental association and stuff like that. Oh, Crest is this toothpaste isn't good because it's not. Crest is the best toothpaste made by the ADA, the American Dental Association, or whatever it is. We have to follow what they say. Oh, you mean the one with all the fluoride in it and I got more cavities than ever? Idiots.
Instacart does it too. Nathan says in our chat, Nathan says that Instacart does the same thing as DoorDash does now too. That's crazy. So
yeah, and the thing is, it's like 30% interest too.
Is it
like,
really?
Oh my God.
So you're buying a meal at 30% interest just to eat. Like,
yeah. So get out there and protest Elon Musk.
Yeah.
Get out there and protest the $36 trillion in debt. No, don't do that. Go protest President Trump for cutting that waste, fraud, and abuse. And look, I don't support President Trump on a number of issues, specifically on the Middle East right now. I've been very vocal about that.
Yeah, but did he really cut waste, fraud, and abuse? How many people have gone to jail? Did Tim Waltz go to jail for watching that fraud happen? They don't have the fraud go to jail because it's just money laundering. Go back to here. Yeah. Oh, yeah. They love. Well, they think the vaccines are good. Oh, you got allergies? Let's just vaccinate the shit out of you. There you go.
But on this, actually trying to make America a manufacturing hub again and actually bring jobs back to the United States. Absolutely. And he's a boomer. He may be the boomer that actually can do something about this. I don't know. He was born in 1946. He is a boomer. He's like the ultimate boomer by the definition of a boomer. So the baby boomers will go down in history as the most selfish, destructive, and short-sighted generation America has ever seen. They inherited greatness and returned debt, drag shows, and dollar store towns with no factories. But the good news is there's a new generation is ready to rebuild what these boomers destroyed. And again, if you're watching this and you're a boomer, I'm not talking about you. I'm talking about the uniparty boomers who destroyed this country. So that's all I have to say about that.
Okay.
You're about to see a clip.
Oops, sorry. That might actually be interesting, but I want to go to a quick update here, and let's see, maybe this will be a good thing.
Questions for you on Iran, but first one affects Americans here at home. Gas prices today they hit $4.
Yeah, down the street at 389.
We're $4, yeah, and we have a country that's not going to be throwing a nuclear weapon at us in 6 months.
But Americans are feeling the effects.
They've been telling you that since the 80s, guys. They're getting ready to nuke you. You better be careful. They're getting ready to nuke you.
In the interim,
And they're also feeling a lot safer.
what is the plan to bring them back down?
All I have to do is leave Iran.
Do you feel safer? I don't.
And we'll be doing that very soon. And they'll become tumbling down. And stock prices were up today almost to a record because they know two things. Number one, we have a safe country. We had to take a little detour because we had a madman named Khomeini who sadly is no longer with us. And we had regime change already. We've knocked out one regime, then we knocked out the second regime. Now we have a group of people that are very different. They're much more reasonable. I think much less radicalized. We've had regime change. We're dealing with people that are much more rational, and it's amazing what we've done. We had to make a little detour. So when the stock market broke all records just a few weeks ago, when it hit 50,000 on the Dow, 7,000 on the S&P.
Again, it's all printed money. It's not hard, tangible assets. It's all bullshit.
Said to the American people, it's time that we have to make a little detour because we have a madman that wants a nuclear weapon. And if we didn't knock him out with a B-2 bomber, we would have a nuclear weapon right now. It would have been used before today. And you may not be standing there asking that question, okay? So I think we have a country that understands that.
Do you believe that, guys? I don't really believe that. They've been saying that for years and years and years. And we didn't just, here's the sinister part, we didn't just take him out, we killed hundreds of children in the process and then wonder why they'd be pissed at us.
I see CNN did a poll and they talked about voters or MAGA voters, and my poll came out at 100%. Nobody covers that poll. They had another poll was at 92% approval. I think that the people understand it. We'll be leaving very soon, and if France or some other country wants to get oil or gas, go up through the Strait and Hormuz Strait. They'll go right up there and they'll be able to fend for themselves. I think it'll be very safe, actually, but we have nothing to do with that. What happens to the Strait, we're not going to have anything to do with because these countries, China will go up and they'll fuel up their beautiful ships and they'll leave and they'll take care of themselves. There's no reason for us to do it. We hit them hard. We got rid of a lot of the radicalized lunatics along the Strait, but if they want something, but I would say that within 2 weeks, maybe 3. We're hitting them very hard. Last night, we knocked out tremendous amounts of missile-making facilities. As you probably read or wrote, we knocked out. Excuse me.
Hard to interrupt you. The U.S. will be gone or done with the war.
I think we're 2 or 3 weeks.
Not 3 weeks. It is
We'll
3
leave
weeks.
because there's no reason for us to do this. Look,
We'll come back in 2 or 3 weeks and see. I thought they were doing 2 or 3 weeks during COVID. I thought they were doing 2 or 3 weeks to collect taxes, just a war boost. This is how they ease you into it. Yeah. They've been saying Iran is 6. Exactly.
with the Strait, a guy can take a mine, drop it in the water, and say, "Oh, it's unsafe."
I'm not saying Iran's the greatest place or anything, but I don't give a damn. Iran, we're only dealing with Iran because Israel doesn't like them. Again, we're Israel's attack dog. Yeah, Trump is paying a debt being president. He owes the overlords for making it maybe the overlords own him regardless. You don't become president without being, like we don't have legit presidents really that much anymore. Yep. There's nothing more permanent than a temporary government program. Yep. I would like for this to be true. I just don't believe it. Look at Afghanistan. That's like 20 years of war. What did we do? Gave them tanks and helicopters, basically.
It's not like you're taking out an army or you're taking out a country or they can drop it. Or you can take a machine gun from the shore and shoot a few bullets at a ship. Or maybe an over-the-shoulder missile, small missiles. That's not for us. That'll be for France. That'll be for whoever's using the strait. But I think when we leave, probably that's all cleared up. Today, I heard tremendous numbers of ships were sailing through. We're negotiating with them right now. We have had regime change. Now, regime change was not one of the things I had as a goal. I had one goal. They will have no nuclear weapon. And that goal has been attained. They will not have nuclear weapons. But we're finishing the job. And I think within maybe 2 weeks, maybe a couple of days longer to do the job. But we want to knock out every single thing they have. Now, it's possible that we'll make a deal before that because we'll hit bridges and we've hit some. We'll hit some bridges. We've got a couple of nice bridges in mind. But if they come to the table, that'll be good. But it doesn't matter whether they come or not. We've set them back. It'll take 15 to 20 years for them to rebuild what we've done to them. They have no Navy. They have no military. They have no Air Force. They have no telecommunications. They have no anti-aircraft systems. They have no leaders. Their leaders are all gone. That's why we have regime change. We have nice new leaders. Peter?
Thanks, President Trump. You talked about how the ballroom needs to have a drone-proof roof.
Right.
Oops. Let's take a look at this.
Call yourself a junkie. If you call yourself an American, you may as well call yourself a junkie. So for any of our people who have gone over there or whose parents went over there and got you stuck in that country, and if any of our own people are thinking about going over there to that country, then let me tell you what your trajectory looks like, what the trajectory of that country looks like. And I'm not guessing. I'm reading the structural indicators. Like I said, I'm not telling you anything that a falling rock is going to hit the ground.
This is not a magical, mystical future prediction. So in the near term, within the next several years,
feel free to join the panel,
economic
guys.
squeeze on ordinary
Link is
Americans
posted
is
here.
going to do nothing but intensify. Their debt
Thanks
is
for
going to
being
grow
here.
faster than their incomes. Their essential costs are going to grow faster than their wages. Think about the ramifications of that. It's not just statistical data. Actually look at what's happening inside the country from now, what's happening now in the country, and then project forward. America is fragmenting. It's fragmenting, not just politically fragmenting. It's fragmenting geographically, it's fragmenting economically, socially.
Class-wise.
In every way that you can think of, they're fragmenting. It's becoming before our eyes what I would call an archipelago. America is becoming an archipelago, a collection of landlocked islands. There's going to be some zones in the country, like coastal corridors, tech clusters, metropolitan centers, and so forth, that are still going to be globally connected to one degree or another, still going to be economically dynamic, still be wealthy, administratively competent, and so forth. But then there are going to be vast stretches of the country that are something else entirely. Aging, depopulating, the infrastructurally stressed, completely dependent on federal transfer systems just to maintain basic function. And those transfers are going to dwindle. Those communities, those vast stretches of the country are dying. This is not conjecture. This is census data. 15 million Americans moved across the country in 2025. 15 million. 88% of those people who moved said that they were doing it to save money. They weren't doing it for opportunity. They weren't doing it for ambition. They were doing it to survive affordably, to be able to afford survival. That's a form of economic internal displacement. That's a form of domestic economic refugees. Americans are leaving their cities the way that people leave a country that is too impoverished and too war-torn to even be livable. Los Angeles is hemorrhaging residents. San Francisco, Boston, Chicago, Colorado. Their populations are voting with their feet against the cost and against the dysfunction of all the major urban centers that were supposed to be the wells of opportunity. That's where you were supposed to be moving to, because that's where the opportunity was supposed to be. And now people are fleeing those places. The country that once told itself that it was one single unified national economy, one shared prosperity, is measurably, observably becoming two or three or more. You've got certain zones of intense capital concentration, and then you have zones of managed decline. And then you have a vast middle territory that has nowhere to go. Okay, that's what an archipelago looks like from the inside. The islands don't even know that they're becoming separate, but they're becoming separate. So they still have a national popular culture. They still participate in the same electoral theater every 4 years, but the actual material realities of daily life, housing costs, employment, security, institutional functionality, basic social trust, these are diverging faster than at any point in modern American history. And there's no indication whatsoever that this process is going to slow down. No, it's only going to intensify. I mean, I can tell you what the sequence looks like because, like I say, this is not random. This is a pattern. And the pattern has logic to it. Like I said, this doesn't even count as a prediction. It's literally just an equation. It's literally just gravity. If you just pull the threads together, it begins with a loss of confidence in institutions. That's already happened. As I say,
we have that.
That's already happened. Trust in the federal government is now at an all-time low. And like I said,
it should be. You guys, after the Epstein files, if shit didn't get done, it's like, well, what are we paying? Like, why am I paying judges and shit? What the fuck?
I'm not saying you should trust them. You never should have trusted the government. It's never been trustworthy. Not now, not 70 years ago. But the point is, as long as that trust was there, the fraud could continue. The fraud could go on. But now 62% of likely voters said that they suspect that cheating will determine the outcome of presidential elections in the future. Okay, and that's
we've seen that before. I think there's been cheating in the past. Again, has anyone seen anyone go to jail for any wrongdoings? Flint, Michigan, poisoning that water. Tim Waltz or any of these people doing no one's been going to jail for anything or being held accountable. It's just not happening.
Skepticism crosses party lines. That means that no matter who wins an American election now, from now on, the majority of the losing side will believe that the result was illegitimate, which means that every election from here forward is going to produce a population that does not accept the authority of whoever won. Okay? Then there's the loss of confidence in the media. Already done. That's already done.
Cooked.
The loss of confidence in the economy.
The only media you need to trust is me.
We covered the household debt situation, the cost of living situation, the 25% surge in essential prices against stagnant wages situation. Okay, so that's already done. The loss of confidence in public order. I mean, just walk through any American city, any major American city. That's already done. That's already there. And then the final
a group of teen nug-nugs will just take everything that you own, like 15 of them.
Is the loss of confidence in the very idea of national cohesion itself. That it's all one country, that it's one shared project, one team America, one coherent people with a common future, okay? That last layer is arriving now, right now. You can see it in the migration patterns. You can see it in the regional divergence. You can see it in the political language that is now routinely including the phrase national divorce, talking about secession. Okay, this is the sequence, and it's playing out in real time right now. The exhaustion phase that you are already in, because I know you're exhausted. I know you're exhausted. Well, that exhaustion is only going to deepen. The affordability crisis is going to get worse. Housing, insurance, healthcare, food, and so forth, all of these things.
Look at gas. Gas is going up. Gas goes up. Everything goes up.
They're going to become even less accessible. The structural forces producing that inaccessibility, the financialization of housing, the extraction model of healthcare, the debt architecture that replaces wage growth, because that's what it is. You need to understand that's why it's happening. That's what is happening, and that's why it's happening. Because why would wages go up? Why should they? You understand? Why should wages keep pace with the cost of living when you can just get people to supplement their income by sinking themselves into debt? No.
Yep. We're building everything on a house of credit cards, not a house of cards, a house of credit cards.
None of these structural reasons are going to be dismantled, not at all. So people on the bottom are simply going to have to adjust their expectations downwards, and that's what they'll do. It means more Americans are going to move back in with their family, with their parents. More are going to work second jobs and third jobs. More are going to homeschool because they don't.
Again, guys, a credit card is you pay percentage on money that is printed and fake anyways. That's another reason why they do go after a lot of these Muslims, is because Muslims don't believe, that's haram to them. They don't believe in credit. So if I borrow you $100, I give you $100 and that's it. It's not I get 100. It's not that I get $250 from your $100 because you didn't pay it in time. It's parasitic. Small hats don't have to pay interest, just so you know that, but they make you pay it.
Don't feel like they can trust the public schools anymore. They're going to join mutual aid networks because they can't trust the state anymore. There's something like 3.4 million homeschool students in the United States.
No, it's 3.04. Oh!
States. That's 6% of all school.
That's what the wholeflation is.
Age children, and it's up from 2.5 million in 2019. Mutual aid groups surged from about 50 to 800 during COVID and continued throughout 2025 in response to government shutdowns and social collapse. This is a sign of a population that has quietly already concluded that the state is no longer reliable, and they're right. It means that people are starting to stop expecting.
Yeah, the state, like I've said before on this, like a state will have some of the most incompetent people, and your town will have some of the most incompetent people that just work for the job. They're just trying to get this, they're just trying to get to their pension. They don't give a shit. He who does the most, he who does the least by the end of the day wins, shit like that. Yeah, people are, yeah. But think of it, guys. That's where we're tricked. You're paying credit on printed money, fiat currency, mark of the beast type shit.
Restoration, and that's right. Again, that's correct. You shouldn't expect restoration. But until now, I think that it is not consciously acknowledged. I think that the ramifications are not consciously acknowledged because people still believe that despite everything, Americans share some basic common ground. They don't. Not anymore. They haven't for a while. That's what I said. There is no Team America. You have a country where people in different class positions, different geographies, different media ecosystems are genuinely not living in the same country in any.
Yeah. So what are you saying? Like a New York City, George Soros liberal who's living in it, they don't really need to even work for the money. They just have a bunch of money, or this is where you get coastal elites or things like that. That's kind of what he's talking about. These, some guy who's just a laborer in Killeen, Texas, is not the same as someone that lives in Vail, Colorado, based, for the most part. They only get, once you have a certain amount of money, then you can start having the first world problems where you're bitching about, can you actually cut your kid's wiener off in school, things like that. Those are luxury problems. Most people are just literally trying to survive right now. And they're just calling that life. Like, we're being scanned where you're just paying to survive. It's pretty crazy. But again, boomers have just watched the ship sink. They put the holes in the ship and they kind of knew it was sinking. And they're just sitting back drinking. They don't give a damn. Why? Because they have a boat. It's another boat. Like I've been saying the whole time, you don't give a shit when you have another boat. You don't care about your boat, this boat, when I can just go on another boat.
Meaningful, experiential sense. You understand me? A tech professional in Austin a retired auto worker in Ohio, an undocumented agricultural worker in California, a Muslim family in Dearborn, they are not inhabiting the
Dante's
same
Inferno.
social reality.
That
They're
defends
not
yourself
consuming the
from
same
this
information
as much as you can.
They're not subject to the same institutional treatment. They are not experiencing the same economy. You understand me? The fiction of a shared national reality is exactly that. It's a fiction, and it's wearing thin. There's already talk about what they're calling soft secession, not formal, not legal, but behavioral. We're talking about people eventually organizing their decisions, organizing their lives around governance preferences. You understand? Moving from places to place, choosing to live based on what state government or municipal government they can tolerate, not because that's where the jobs are. And we're talking about building private parallel systems, security systems, private schooling, cash economies, informal contracting, local dispute resolution, and so forth. Communities that function as semi-autonomous units within the nominal shell of a nation state that nobody fully trusts anymore. The number of
he's talking about trying to create your own system within this one, places that have less red tape. So places like probably where me and Red Door live, New Hampshire, Maine. It's going to be probably easier than, or I really shouldn't quite say that, but I think that's what he's meaning.
Students in America who are
basically places where it's easier to like homestead and things like that. Basically a place where like you can't catch rainwater. That's like illegal. Get the fuck out of here.
Accessing their education savings account, which is a mechanism that lets families redirect their public education funds towards private and homeschool options. You understand? That skyrocketed from 40,000 in 2022 to nearly 500,000 in 2025.
Yeah, there you go, Clayton.
People literally redirecting the money that the state allocates for their children away from state institutions. They are circumventing the state while living inside the state. That soft system.
And that's why they circumcise you. Oh!
Session. That's a civilizational unraveling in slow motion. You're going to have about 5 kinds of people, 5 types of people, segments of people, as all of this unfolds. They're going to be the adapters, and that's the majority. They'll just try to adjust. They'll cut their expenses. They'll relocate. They'll lower their expectations. They'll build backup plans. They're just surviving, adapting, like I say, to the new normal. Then you'll have the nostalgia.
And this will tie it into boomers, the new normal. So boomers had the highest level of normal, the highest luxury of normal, because you came from basically the greatest generation. They're in World War II, and they just had the survival instinct, and they just worked their tits off like 24/7 until they died, but gave it all away because they were what? Selfless. Then you have boomers come along who are what? Selfish, self-centered. So we've seen the bar being raised, and then we've seen the bar being squandered and then lowered. And now guess what, guys? It's getting even lower. We just got to go under the bar a little lower. Like what's that game where you Limbo or something where you go under the bar? That's what it's going to be. Literally bending over backwards. When they could have maintained the bar or even made the bar higher. Too.
They still think that one election, one charismatic leader, one political revival.
Limho! Oh!
One return to the old values and so forth will restore everything that's been lost. Those are the real junkies, the real indoctrinated addicts of American mythology. Yep. And they're going to be politically active, but completely delusional. You've got those on the right and on the left. Then another category is going to be the radicals, which you can call the radicals. Mm-hmm. And they're actually surprisingly similar to the nostalgists. They correctly diagnose that the system is illegitimate. So they're sometimes right about the diagnosis, but they're always wrong about what follows. Because anger is not analysis and outrage is not a cure. And that's all they've really got. And they're also mostly following this or that dogma, like communism or libertarianism or anarchism or what have you. And they also think, the same as the nostalgists, that if they just get the right leader, if they just get enough mobilization, then you can actually turn around a sinking ship.
Like Trump. This is what they thought Trump is. Trump is going to, hey guys, did Trump drain the swamp really? Again, have you seen anyone go to jail or get in trouble or anything? I haven't. See, that was his pitch to get you to keep the lies going, to keep the bullshit going. Like, well, how can we really change anything unless we drain the swamp and get all these bad people out? Did any of that happen? No. That's why I'm saying when he tells you we're going to be out of Iran in 2 to 3 weeks, which would be nice, by the way, that would be nice. But, you know, there's a lot of lies going on.
And then
let me just rewind that a second.
Or libertarianism or anarchism or what have you. And they also think the same as the nostalgists, that if they just get the right leader, if they just get enough mobilization, then you can actually turn around a sinking ship.
And that means Republican or Democrat, or just in general, people want a savior. That's what they want Jesus to do. And Jesus will be coming back, and then everything will stop. It's like, I'm pretty sure we've had enough evil people in power and stuff, and like things are getting pretty bad. Like, you know, if he steps in, that's great. But right now, I'm not really going to be like thinking that's going to be, you know, I'm not going to rely on that too much. If that happens, you know, I'll take the help. But, you know, we still have the ship is still sinking here.
And most importantly, I think you'll have the archipelago builders. These are the most realistic.
Archipelago.
They will have identified that building parallel community power structures is the only way to go, because it is. You know, community farms, schools, mutual aid networks.
And I think, Clayton, if you want to put the year of that in, you can put that in too, because I think that was maybe in the 60s. I'm not exactly sure.
A cooperative.
And again, thanks for being here, guys. Appreciate it.
Housing, digital ecosystem, income ecosystems, local business ecosystems, semi-parallel civic life. They're not waiting for a national restoration or what have you. They're not waiting for a revival. They're building viable islands inside of the wider breakdown, the wider collapse. And from a long-range historical perspective, I think that those people are going to matter.
And what are some of those islands, guys? Why do you see Oprah going to an island? Why do you see the Zuckerberg and these people making bunkers and shit too?
The most, far more than any of the loud voices of the nostalgists or the radicals. And then there's what I would call the civilizational defectors. And these are the people who have the greatest insight.
Yeah.
These are the people.
Yeah. So another thing too is, I say this a lot of times, like inversion is like a form of evil sometimes. So progressive always really means regressive. Think about what do our progressives want to do now? They want to like hurt things, make it worse. They just want to make things like more retarded than they were. That would be regressive. Yeah. Okay, 1913. Yeah. And that's a big deal, guys. You think they're just going to start handing in your gold? Come on. And another thing too is, particularly silver, they need a lot of this stuff for AI too. So a lot of it's going to be used for that as well. And don't think they won't put AI before you. You know what I mean? If a boomer will have a Chinese kid do the same job that should be done here or something like that, don't think he won't not have a robot do it either.
People across every racial, every ethnic, every class, every geographic category. These are the people who have concluded correctly that the West's self-description has always been a lie, that the framework is not just politically biased, but morally fraudulent, that the whole language of universal rights, the whole language of democratic legitimacy, free markets, liberal progress, and so forth, has always and primarily only ever been camouflage for amoral power. These people are not looking for a restoration or a revival, not whatsoever. They're looking for a different civilizational framework entirely. They're looking for a different moral vocabulary. They're looking for a different relationship between authority and truth. They're looking for a different model for the human being and for the human being's obligations to community, to family, to God, and to history. But this is what you can expect: near term, midterm, long term: erosion, slow motion, collapse, degrading conditions, degrading quality of life, and escalating cost of living. Basically, what you see right now, but intensified and continued: pockets of wealth and privilege in a sea of scarcity, lack of services, deterioration, insecurity, crime, sickness, and strife. The overwhelming majority of the population will have no useful way whatsoever to navigate what's coming. Their families are broken. Their morals are broken. Their intellects are broken. Their thinking skills are broken. Their finances are broken. Their communities are broken. They are broken. You understand me? I'm talking to my people now. I'm talking to my Muslim people now, my brothers and sisters.
By the way, as I'm not a Muslim or anything, I just like what this guy has to say. Sometimes, like, I like he's good at diagnosing some Western culture issues. Sometimes you have to go to an outside source. He did live in the United States, but sometimes you have to go to outside source to go look at it and more too. So just a disclaimer with that.
Please understand me. Don't let yourself be fooled by that country. We have been a civilization for over 1,400 years. And even when we were a young nation, a smaller nation, we didn't let ourselves get fooled by the Roman Empire. We didn't let ourselves get fooled by the Persian Empire. We didn't let ourselves get fooled by the Crusaders. We didn't let ourselves get fooled by the Mongols. So don't let yourselves be fooled now by America. No, America has only been a major global power, literally with.
Let's do a quick commercial break for this fool right here. Let's bring it back to Western culture problems, what they're thinking about.
I just got home from a date. We were going to.
This is the other side of the coin.
We did not make it to dinner.
Self-centered side of the coin.
I'm back home. I've been gone for an hour and 15 minutes. I'm back home. And I have a friend coming to pick me up right now. I just asked him to take me home. You know,
a friend coming up to take her home. She's gonna get railed by a guy.
the amount of times I have wanted to do that while on a date and I didn't, and I just sat there and grinned and bared it. A guy does something or says something or is something that I just don't jive with, and I stick around because it's the polite thing to do. No more of that, girls. I finally just said, look, I have to be really honest. You just did this thing that is really not my vibe and it's turning me off, and I don't think I can.
And people are being this is also a thing too. This is someone who this is their whole world. So they'll believe anything. They're self-obsessed. So we'll finish this one. I wanted to break it up from being so serious.
To his credit, he took it really, really well, and he said, okay, I actually completely understand. Thank you for telling me.
Nice.
He also asked me out on another date.
Yep, that's plan B.
What? No. Come here. This guy's happy. Come on.
She's a dog.
Oh, I'm shaking. I just got home from a date. We were.
But this is the other side of like, these people don't mind.
This is my first time being alone.
Someone like this doesn't mind if people are getting killed in other places, or like if she's just living on credit and all that. They're not, one kind of feeds the other.
In 10 days, and as an introvert, there is truly no better feeling. I came home, my dog and I have just been attached at the hip. He has been sleeping so much since I got home. He had 2 different house sitters over the last 10 days, and I just know he's happy. He's also due for a groom. Look how kind of wackadoodle he looks.
Wow. They're cooked. They're really cooked. So, I found something that I did want to watch. I've been wanting to talk about this for a while. So this guy right here, his name is Jonathan Haidt. He wrote a book that I really like, that we'll maybe even go over on this show, some of the different graphs and everything of it. But it's called The Coddling of the American Mind. And it's a book on, it's probably, geez, almost like 15 years old now, but it's like one of the best books I've ever read, and it has a lot of graphs and data and whatnot. So it was him and another guy who are the author of it. But I think this book, The Anxious Generation, is what this talk will be about, is just kind of like an updated version of that book. Like the 2.0 of it. Oh!
They said, you can bring in your television set, your VCR, your guitar, your paint by numbers, Play-Doh, whatever you want. Bring it in, play with it during class. I mean, that's completely insane. And of course, you wouldn't be able to learn anything. And that's what's happened since 2012.
Welcome to Radio Davos. I'm delighted to have as a guest Jonathan Haidt, who is the best-selling author of The Anxious Generation.
For the last 10 years, it's been mostly kids just staring.
Yeah, and fair use. And let me put the speed up a hair. Oops.
Down. And this is a big reason why they are so lonely. Smartphones with a front-facing camera, high-speed internet, and super addictive, super viral social media on the phone, which wasn't possible in 2010. And so it's that period in which there's a rewiring of this flow of development. And the kids are coming out different and I would say diminished. This is a collective action problem, but if we work together, we're making amazing progress.
And wow, this is from the World Economic Forum too.
Hi, Jonathan, how are you?
Fine, thanks, Robert.
I've been a fan since I discovered the happiness hypothesis, your first book, I think. Is that right?
That's right. It grew out of my teaching Psych 101 at the University of Virginia, finding that ancient ideas often illuminated modern psychology. And I just collected a bunch of quotations from the ancients. And guess what? It turns out they were totally wrong about chemistry, physics, and things like that, but totally right about consciousness and social life.
You know, I love the book. And if you describe it as you've taken ancient wisdom, whatever, it sounds
Red Door Woman summed it up.
Hallmark can't. But what you've done in that book and what you've done in The Anxious Generation is had hypotheses and tested them against evidence. Let's talk about The Anxious Generation. This has made a real stir over the last year, I think, around the world. Tell us in a nutshell what that book is.
So The Anxious Generation is an attempt to explain why it is that the students entering my college classes and everyone's college classes in 2014, 2015 were so different from the millennials. We thought they were millennials at the time.
So it's going to be kids born in like 1993 and above, because they were the ones who like were the first generation to like have like a smartphone in like middle school and all the modern social media. So their whole paradigm has been kind of different like that. And how that's played out, because we've never really like seen that before, and it just became such a normalized thing, and people are all addicted to their phones, and it like connects with how our like dopamine is in our brain and stuff. You know, when people like you know, receiving texts and stuff, and we've said it before, like for a lot of these 304s, their phone is their god too. So I mean, even that's just a new thing that they have to handle. So let me put this on a little bit more, and then I'll keep jumping around.
But they were much more anxious. They saw threats everywhere. They wanted trigger warnings. And so I've been working on that problem since 2014, 2015. What happened? Because it wasn't just college students. It turns out it was everyone in America born in 1996 and later. And then it turned out it was the exact same in Canada and the UK and Australia. And in more recent years, it's true in Europe too. We found that it's true in Europe too. And so the book is an attempt to explain that. And it boils down to a very simple formula, which is that we have overprotected our children in the real world. That is, we've blocked them from free play, independence, and risk-taking. And we've underprotected them online. That is, we said, you can't go outside, it's too dangerous, but sit in your room and talk to sexual predators around the world. Like, you know, whatever, it's online, you're safe. So it's those two mistakes that the book.
Well, also too, it's just lazy parenting. Oh, I'm just gonna let the TV babysit my kid because it's easier, and I don't really give a shit what they watch. Or it's okay. It's okay that they watch this drag queen story out of the whole. I mean, the whole class is. So what am I gonna do? Tell them no? Or you know, little Jimmy doesn't know how to get past the child free filter and look at whatever he wants. They're also the first generation to have access to the most amount of any type of pornography in video and in a video form. 2, instant access at like 11 years old, just ripping into this stuff. Weird shit too. Yeah, so but that was what kind of the coddling of the American mind was sort of about. And it was a really good book, but now they get even more data sets, so that's what this other one is about. But a lot of the same truths are still there, so that's cool that they made it as required reading, for sure.
Book is trying to call attention to, and then give parents and teachers and legislators tools and ideas and simple norms to roll back this phone-based childhood and return to a play-based childhood.
Yeah, you call it the great rewiring. Why is that?
I think developmentally, I think about a child growing into an adult within a cultural context. I think about like a river, like a flow, or like electrical current or something moving along. And then the technology changed. Of course, it's changing continuously, but there's a period, 2010 to 2015.
I think he's embellishing and stuff because he's at this World Economic Forum. He's usually a little bit more to the point, actually. This is weird. I'm having a Davos thing for World Economic Forum that just came up. But I think it's kind of interesting.
When it changes really radically, we'll come back to that in a moment. And it's that period, 2010 to 2015, that's when you find the elbows in all the graphs. That is, levels of mental illness, especially anxiety, depression, were pretty stable from the late 90s through 2010, 2011, no sign of a trend. And then all of a sudden, it's as though someone turns on a light switch and the levels of anxiety and depression skyrocket, especially in girls. And so I'm trying to figure out what changed. And the answer, at least what I say in the book, is that...
Would it surprise you that women and girls are more affected by social media and get more depressed and put more of their get more of their self-esteem on it? So put a 1 in the chat if that would surprise you, but I don't, it just makes sense. Here we go.
In 2010, teens all had flip phones. The iPhone comes out in 2007, but teens don't really have it in 2010. They have a flip phone. They use it to call and text their friends. And so they are still they're still spending time with their friends. They're still looking at people in the eye. But by 2015, they've traded in their flip phones for smartphones with a front-facing camera, high-speed internet, and super addictive, super viral social media on the phone, which wasn't possible in 2010. And so it's that period in which there's a rewiring of this flow of development. And
what's a rewiring of the brain and how people live and stuff, but especially kids. So he's talking more about how kids grow up in this.
Is not.
And further on this point, Australia has made it so you can't use Facebook and all those things until you're 16 years old. And I think that's a good thing. I'm sure there's going to be ways they can go around it and stuff, but I'm not a big fan of all this. I've never really been a social media person. I don't have Facebook. I haven't had I've lost probably a lot of opportunities just by not having Facebook and not participating in social media. So now I'm becoming more cool with it, but yeah, so it can mess with you, I think.
The ancient, millions of years old path of childhood to adulthood, it's now on screens, online, and the kids are coming out different and I would say diminished.
And it's a kind of a two-way thing. You say that having
Look at this evil genius. This is a World Economic Forum dude right here. Oh my God, he looks like he's like infuriated or something. Like a giant head.
this addictive thing in your hand all the time, it blocks opportunity for what used to be social interaction in the real world. And also there's the potential damage from the content itself. So there's kind of a double hit from that. And I think one thing was interesting, you're talking about phone bans, and I know you're very active campaigning to get smartphones banned from schools. And a lot of schools ban them in the class, but then not at break time, at recess.
So what I found is that here in Europe, people just love the word ban. Everyone wants to talk to us as a phone ban. Whereas, in America, we don't like bans unless they're absolutely necessary. And so I call this a phone-free school. It's a positive, it's a virtue. So phone-free schools is what we need to have. I mean, think about it this way. When, you and I are, I can't tell exactly how old you are, but we're from roughly the same time, I imagine, the 1960s. And imagine if when we went to school, they said, you can bring in your television set, your VCR, your guitar, your paint by numbers, Play-Doh, whatever you want. Bring it in, play with it during class. I mean, that's completely insane. And of course, you wouldn't be able to learn anything. And that's what's happened since 2012. Test scores in the US and around the world, as we know from the PISA data, in the US, they were rising from the 70s through 2012, and then they begin to fall. And this wasn't because of COVID, they fall after 2012. Same thing with the PISA data. So as soon as we stuffed kids full of screens, and not just their phones, but also all the educational technology, they're so distracted they can't learn. So in response, some schools, and France did this first, they said, we're going to ban phones.
And they're cranking it to like videos of corn and stuff like that. Like that's a lot to handle. They're overstimulated and stuff. It's crazy. So they kind of like live in like it also means that they kind of like live in like like the Matrix too in their own way, because like they're very sucked into that. So they can just be like, just start cooking their brain, I guess, early.
In the classroom, which means that every teacher now has to be the phone police because the kids have access to their phones in their pockets or in their backpack. And what that means is that the kids are desperate to get to their phones beginning 5 or 10 minutes before class ends. They're thinking about it. Many of them are heavily addicted. And then in between classes, they're all on their phones. And then in the lunchroom, they're on their phones. And when schools go phone free, this is happening around the world, when schools go phone free and they say, no, it's for the school day. You come into school, you need the phone to get to school, perhaps. You put it in a phone lock, special phone locker, you put it in a yonder pouch, you put it just in a...
These hoes will put it in their yonder pouch. Oh! And run it on vibrate the whole day.
An envelope at the front of your homeroom class. When schools do this, what they all say is that we hear laughter in the hallways again. They say the lunchroom is loud again, because for the last 10 years, it's been mostly kids just staring down. And this is a big reason why they are so lonely. The more you connect the generation by digital technology, the lonelier they are.
Generations past would say, oh, kids watch too much television. It's rotting their brains. And then maybe a generation later, it's like, oh, they worry too much about that. Could this just be that? It's rotting their brains, but it's just, you're an old fuddy-duddy, Jonathan, is what I'm saying.
Yeah, in theory it could, and that is the main argument against me, that this is just another moral panic. But let's look a little closer. It is up to me to show that this time is different. I think I can do that. First, in previous moral panics, you didn't...
This guy is not doing like, this is his latest speech that I could like find. Because I don't really like, follow this guy all the time, but usually he's kind of I don't know, speaks a little differently, I guess.
Have a sudden instantaneous international collapse in anything, but in this you do. And there's no other way to explain why mental health goes haywire not just in the US, but in Australia, New Zealand, Scandinavia, many, many countries. And television is really, really different in two ways. First, the dose makes the poison. So there were kids who watched 10 hours a day, and I bet they were messed up. But you and I probably watched 1 to 3 hours a day, typically, and then you'd go outside. Even if you're with a friend, you watch TV for a while, and then you go outside and do something. We couldn't watch TV 10 hours a day, but when you go from a flip phone to a smartphone, you can. And half of all kids in the United States, half of all teens say they are online almost all the time, or rather almost constantly. The phone is always in their hand. You can't do that with TV. And so 2 or 3 hours a day of television doesn't seem to be terribly damaging. 7 to 12 hours a day of scrolling and comparing and not doing anything else is damaging. So this time is very, very different.
I read a 1-star review of the book in Nature, something along the lines of, yeah, it's all good supposition, but you don't test it against evidence, which I was quite surprised by, actually. How do you respond to that?
Well, that essay in Nature by Candace Odgers, who's a leading researcher in this area, she makes a number of assertions that I think are not true. She says that is a free market in religions. Our churches and they all have to compete, and so they have to attract people. They have to be innovative and they have to be fun. So whereas in Europe, you have these state religions that are stodgy and boring and old. So
let's So yeah, what do you guys think about that on the topic? I think no phones in schools would be a great thing. I think phones like you do kind of need them, but you also really kind of don't too. Yeah, it's just a new thing for us. But as far as kids are, like that the phone will teach more to your kid than you think, because that's just how they can just sit and learn from it. So it's not necessarily a bad thing, but it's something like definitely to be monitored for sure. Let's watch one more like boomer video, because that's what this was about. This is one that just came up kind of automatically, but it kind of looks like a Bernie Sanders type dude. Let's see what this is for another minute or so. I mean, another few minutes.
Of the parents of baby boomers saying how they raise their kids. I'm David Hoffman, filmmaker, and I made this clip. And I'm showing the clip right now because if you look at the comments on all of my clips on baby boomers, there is so much hostility to the boomers. So many people who want to kill them. Well, listen to this. These are some comments.
Please, no one's saying that. Well, I'm not saying that. We're going to acknowledge this guy.
So he's going to get his everything shower. I just took my
little
everything
rat
shower.
dog. Look at that little rat dog. Jeez. Oops, sorry. Let's do some TikTok in here, and because I got to experiment using this platform more too, because I do think that TikTok is actually pretty cool. Yeah, I actually have some videos on TikTok, I think too, for tree work and stuff.
Dating after 35 seems impossible sometimes. No one even texts back. Would you consider going on a date with me? Dating after 35 seems impossible sometimes. No one even texts back.
All right, that's stupid. Let me find. Let me go back to this guy and continue this a little bit.
Within generations that are currently living on this earth. Do you understand me? Do you understand how short that is? We're talking about inside my mother's lifetime. inside my mother's lifetime, my father's lifetime, my lifetime, and your lifetime. That's not impressive. That's not proof of anything. No, you have to show me your global stature. You have to show me your global influence for at least 500 consecutive years, not 50. America just got here, historically speaking. And it's
hang on a second. There's a AI school in Chicago. No, I haven't. I want to make sure I acknowledge, go back and look at the chats here too. What is an everything shower? Oh yeah. Are we doing shower gym splits, arms and back on Tuesday? Yeah. It's like, yeah, you're showering. Yeah. Just shower everything, you nasty 304. Because she's a dog.
already on the way out. Shortest empire in history, like I said. It's the shortest, but it's the most violent, the most brutal, the most savage, the most ruthless, and the most destructive empire in history. It's so destructive that it's self-destructive. And alhamdulillah for that. They're leading their own people into obsolescence. You understand? They gave birth.
Hang on, let's try one more thing. We'll leave this on, actually.
To a class of elites who are committing patricide against themselves. They made a class of wealthy extractors and pillagers who are now extracting and pillaging the country that made them in the first place. And they rule by confusion, by delusion, deception, and division. Their model relies upon making their population ignorant, making their population unskilled, dysfunctional, sick, and lazy. That's the truth. They don't want a capable population. They don't want a moral population. They don't want an intelligent population. They don't want a disciplined population. That's the last thing that they want.
That rat dog
what kind
is
of
going to be like.
that? Okay, I could tell you what kind of a system. I can tell you all sorts of things about what sort of a system that is. But the main thing that you need to know is that it is a short-term system. That's not a system that can survive. That's not a sustainable system. It's a crash and grab system. It's a short-term con game. It's a quick fraud. It's a take the money and run cheat. You know, your President Lincoln, he saw what it was when he said that you can fool some of the people all of the time and all of the people some of the time, but you cannot fool all of the people all of the time, meaning the jig is going to be up sooner or later, and we're living at that time right now. The jig is up. The rug is being pulled. And the main contribution that America will have made to humanity when this is all said and done.
This is what that dog is like. That little rat dog. This is yeah, that's what will happen to that dog. Oops. Oh. Please wait while I cue the next video. Pour yourself an adult beverage.
okay. I mean, I'm standing up the window and I'm talking to you, so. Hello.
Hi, what's going on? Hi.
Your plates are expired.
Oh, okay. Okay, I'm sorry. I know we've been broke. I'm sorry, buddy. Hold on.
Yeah,
we've been
thanks.
broke this month. We had to wait till this weekend. Come here, buddy.
Yeah, I'm gonna incorporate some smooth jazz breaks in actually. And there was someone who that's a subscriber who made some awesome music. And let me get him up. So I'm gonna play this for a bit and then find his because he made some like awesome music on keyboard that was dope, and I wanted to make it a part of the show. So let me find let this play, and then we'll go to that.
Come here. Hi.
He's a sweet boy, huh?
He is. He's so sweet.
Do you have your driver's license?
I don't on me. I'm sorry.
She's a dog!
I don't.
Okay. Is it like suspended or something?
It is suspended. I had to go to the bathroom.
Oh, okay. Where do you live at?
We're over here by the storage unit.
What's your first name?
I'm Caitlin.
What's your last name?
Oh,
It's okay. What's your last name?
I'm sorry, I don't know why he's acting like that.
It's okay. I mean, I'm standing up the window and I'm talking to you, so.
Hi, buddy. Oh, what's upset?
Why is your license, is it suspended or revoked or?
Yeah, it's suspended.
Do you have insurance?
Yeah, what?
I'll step back so you can close the window and kind of search for that, and I'll come back
I'm
up.
gonna call my mom and see, so she could send me an updated version. I should have it, but
An updated insurance?
yeah.
Do they pay for it?
So no, well they help us, yeah.
Okay, it goes to that address though?
Yeah.
Okay, all right. You can close the window, get him under control, try to look for the insurance, I'll come back up.
The officer now runs the driver's name, and what she learns would change the course of the entire traffic stop.
This is why I didn't let her go. I knew something was up. All right, I'm gonna go up there and check with her. She was looking for insurance. I don't know if she has it. She was over here at the storage units because her and her boyfriend or whatever have their shit there. So maybe she has somewhere she can put the dog. Hey, did you find the insurance?
So
Can I hold your phone?
Of course. Hey, buddy, can you sit down? Can you sit down?
So there's kind of a problem. Your license is revoked for 2 alcohol violations.
Okay.
So you're gonna go to jail.
I thought the first time you get caught without your...
It's an arrestable offense no matter what.
It really is.
Yeah, it is. I arrest people on it all the time.
Would there be a way that we could...
Do you have someone that can come get him? I won't tow your car and stuff like that.
Would it be possible if we just let me go and walk?
No.
So the first time I thought if you get pulled over that they don't arrest you.
No, that's not. Yeah, that's not how it works. It's an arrestable offense.
Okay,
So.
well, can you show me how that's an arrestable offense?
It's an unclassified misdemeanor in Colorado, so it's arrestable. I don't have to show you anything. I do this all the time, Caitlin.
Okay,
like this is my job.
Please don't.
I'm being nice with you. Do you have someone that can come get your dog, or he's gonna go to the
over in
pound?
the storage unit. Can you please let me go?
Do you have a boyfriend
We're going to the dog pound now.
or something you can call to come
Yeah,
get your
he's
dog?
at the storage unit, but
Can he
he's
come
locked
over
in
here?
So he had
You guys like live in it? Kind of?
We were staying in it right now. We're not living in it.
Okay,
but
well,
we're in there.
maybe we can park your car and our CSO can take the dog over to him.
No. I'm here. I'm not being.
No, I know. I'm just trying to help you.
I know. Stop it, Wyatt. I don't. Okay, he's fine. Would it be possible if I just walk the car, or I leave the car and I could just walk to the storage unit with my dog?
No, I can't, Caitlin. That's not an option. So you got to figure out how. If you don't try to help me out, then we're just going to pull you out of the car.
Why you?
Because I arrest people on this, and it's an arrestable offense. So you're.
That it's an arrestable offense because I don't.
I don't have to. No.
Let's stop this nonsense for a second and screen share this. This is one of the subscribers to this show, and I'm pretty sure this is the right video, but this was actually pretty cool. Yeah, that was pretty cool. Oh wait, I'm still here. Oh yeah, yeah, perfect. That puts up his information. Yeah, that was pretty cool. Now we'll go back to this. This dog.
I'm telling you now because I'm not required to. Okay, you're gonna get a warrant if you drive away. Okay.
Oh man.
Yeah. Try to go over to the storage unit. See if she goes over there. I'm gonna write a warrant for her. Dispatch 12956. Did you get the information that the vehicle fled from us? It went northbound on Fairgrounds. Can you air the information to Larimer County? I only have traffic charges at this point and eluding. Let's go this way.
Less than 20 minutes later, the officer
Yeah, I
and her
think some
partner
musical
surprised the
breaks
suspect
put
and
in
her
here and
boyfriend
there
at the
actually
storage
could be
unit
kind
they've
of
been
cool.
living in, where the situation would get even worse.
Timothy, can you open the door and talk to me? Okay, is it just you in there? Okay.
Yeah, let me find a way to
I think there's two people talking here. 7-1, you want to come to us? We think we have her in the unit.
put his
Open the door
thing
now.
in the chat.
What's your name?
Caitlin, you're under arrest. Come out now with your hands in the air.
Caitlin?
This is the Windsor Police Department. Both of you come out with your hands in the air now.
Windsor Med for 1. We got an argument inside. You ready?
Hands in the air now. Hands in the air now.
Let me see your hands.
I'm not doing anything. I'm not doing Get off the ground. Get on the ground.
No, you're under arrest.
941 fighting with 2.
Please don't do that. Stay on the ground now.
Good. Don't do that, please.
Go there, go there.
Please. Get on the ground.
Guys, I'm not fighting with you. I know. I just got to get your hands. Okay, it's me. What's going on?
Caitlin. Turn over.
Wait. Squeeze your hands tighter. That's the closest you can get your hands?
Yeah. Take a deep breath. Okay, take a deep breath.
I'm going to double cuff you. Don't okay? I'm not.
These are deployed. Can you start medical routine for a check?
Why? Hey. Okay, buddy. Is he friendly?
He's a dog too.
Complicating matters even further, officers don't know what was going on between Caitlin and her boyfriend when they opened the storage unit. Now, they must attempt to get any information out of them they can about what was going on behind that door, which may lead to more charges.
Let's go out this way.
I'm going to sit you up, okay? Okay. Give me 1 second.
You know what? I need to change up. I do like these police videos and stuff, but sometimes they're just negative to kind of look at. Let's try this instead.
Popular influencer, mom, wife, only 38 years old, is now dead after a cosmetic surgery out in Russia. And now a criminal investigation has reportedly been launched. We are diving into what we know, as this now represents yet another case of a family grieving after their loved one went in for what should seemingly be a standard procedure. Welcome to Sidebar, presented by Law and Crime. I'm Jesse Weber.
Компрометирующие вопросы моему мужу-итальянцу. Ты бы изменил бы мне за 100 тысяч евро per 100.000 euro?
No.
200?
No.
1 milione.
Yulia Burtseva, 38 years old, big on social media, had apparently over 73,000 followers on Instagram.
She's a hot Russian chick.
She had been living in Naples, Italy, with her husband, her young daughter, documenting their life together on social media, a woman who seemed to be living...
But she's a dog!
A full, happy life is now dead. And the explanation, the reason, that is what we have to talk about, because it is being reported that she died after undergoing plastic surgery out in Moscow. And now a criminal investigation has been opened in connection with her death. Now, before I get into the details of this, it should be noted that a criminal case connected to a plastic surgery or a cosmetic procedure that involves a death, this is not new in Russia, okay? Dr. Ekaterina Lonskaya, a cosmetic surgeon, was originally sentenced.
So I think they might try to make Russia look bad. They always try to make Russia look bad. And like, when do you ever hear anything positive about it come out? Exactly. It's always just going to be negative.
Almost a year in a penal colony after causing a patient to lose...
Because she's a 304 in a penal colony. Oh!
...sight in her eyes after a botched procedure, only to have to get 4 corrective surgeries. But then her sentence was replaced with heading to the front lines of the Ukraine-Russia war to treat injured troops. That was a notable case. 2024, according to the Mirror, a surgeon that apparently left a Russian beauty queen disfigured for the rest of her life was convicted of negligence and was sentenced to 3 years of restricted freedom, but was actually able to escape punishment because of a statute of limitations issue. But putting that to the side, again, another notable case. Here on Sidebar, we are no strangers to these cases in other jurisdictions as well. We've covered it. We covered the case of a Mexican couple that was arrested and charged in connection with the death of Paloma Nicole Arellano Escobedo, a 14-year-old who died in September at a private medical clinic in Durango. According to reporting from multiple news outlets in Mexico, one of the suspects, so Paloma Nicole's own mother, Paloma Yasmin, told Paloma Nicole's father, Carlos, that she died from complications of COVID-19. But he apparently discovered during her funeral that his daughter had very obviously had cosmetic surgeries done, including breast augmentation. The doctor who was allegedly involved in this, reportedly, he's accused of allowing his wife to work alongside him during medical procedures and surgeries, despite the fact that she didn't study medicine. So you're talking a doctor here facing charges of abandonment and improper practice of medical service. We also covered the case of Dr. Ben Brown, the Florida plastic surgeon, going on trial for manslaughter for the death of his wife, Hillary, who apparently went into cardiac arrest during a procedure. The ME says she died from lidocaine toxicity. But now we go to this case. We go to this case of Yulia. According to Russian outlet MSK1, Yulia died.
But look at how hot and nice this looks, too. Like, I want to go to Russia.
After undergoing a surgery at a...
And finally see Daddy Putin again. I'm like from like the Ukraine, but I like just saying Daddy Putin sometimes. It's just funny.
Private clinic. It's a branch of the Elmas Clinic, located on Tokmakov Lane on January 4th. Now, we don't know for sure what kind of operation or procedure she was getting, but apparently there was some sort of complication. She was taken to the hospital and she sadly died, leaving behind a family. The main investigative directorate of the investigative committee of the Russian Federation for Moscow opened a criminal case under Part 2 of Article 109 of the Russian Criminal Code, quote, causing death by negligence due to improper performance of professional duties. And reportedly, the maximum sentence for conviction would be restriction of liberty for up to 3 years. We'll talk about that. But according to People, the investigative committee released a statement that was translated from Russian to say, quote, Investigators from the Moscow Investigative Committee are working at the scene. Necessary official and medical records will be seized shortly. A number of forensic examinations, including a medical one, are being ordered. Okay, before we go into this, got to be real about something. Credit card debt, it isn't an accident. Every call, every fee, every high interest trap, it is a system designed to keep Americans stuck. The banks profit, the creditors win, but real families lose. Today's sponsor, PDS Debt, they help people fight back. So whether it's credit cards, personal loans, medical bills, PDS Debt has customized options to help
We
you
want
pay
to
off
help
debt
you
faster. There's
fight
no
back
minimum credit
against
score.
print. We want to help you fight back against that printed money that you owe on.
That's even required. Plus, they're A+ rated by the Better Business Bureau. The system, it can make you feel like you're drowning financially, which is why I want you to find all solutions to your debt. It's your money. It's your future. Don't let the system decide for you. You're 30 seconds away from being debt-free. So get your free assessment and find the best option for you right now at pdsdebt.com/sidebar. That's pdsdebt.com/sidebar, pdsdebt.com/sidebar. So what happened?
Shill bar.
Why did she lose her life? Was someone criminally negligent? What can we expect from this investigation? What do we know about Russian criminal investigations? I want to talk about all of it. Okay, now I want to bring in international law attorney David Teferi to talk more about this. David, thank you so much for taking the time. It doesn't seem to be unusual in Russia to open up these kinds of investigations when you are dealing with deaths that are possibly connected to these procedures. I think the law here is very interesting. When they say they're opening up causing death by negligence due to improper performance of professional duties, do you know what that means?
So some news outlets are saying that the medical care providers might be charged under Article 109 of the Russian Criminal Code. What I've seen also is that there's a similar provision under Article 118 of the Russian Criminal Code, which essentially provides for criminal negligence if you fail to meet the duty of care for providing medical assistance to a person and it causes grievous injury, which of course, in this case, it's death. So that would constitute grievous injury.
And what is the punishment? I saw under the code that's being, amplified in the media, restriction of liberty. Does that mean incarceration, or does that mean something like forced labor? What does that mean exactly?
I think it can be either of those things. So restriction of liberty gives the Russian authorities some choices. I think the person can be detained and put in prison or could be put into forced labor, which is kind of strange because you don't think of that as being a normal punishment in the developing world, but it is still a punishment that is applicable in Russia, and it could happen. Also, the person who provided the medical care could lose their right to practice medicine for up to at least 3 years as well. So there's some other punishments that would also be associated with a finding of guilt in this case.
When they say that investigators from the Moscow Investigative Committee are working at the scene, that necessary official and medical records will be seized shortly, that a number of forensic examinations, including a medical one, are being ordered, what can we expect there? What's happening there?
Well, it sounds like they're attempting to do a thorough investigation. You never really know because all of the Russian legal processes and investigatory processes are very opaque. And, I would worry in this case that because she's an Italian citizen, so she's from a country with broken relations with Russia, Italy being part of the EU, part of NATO, participating in support for Ukraine, that she might not get a fair shake because of that. But if this were to go forward in a normal way without political influence, there should be a very thorough investigation by experts from the Moscow Investigatory Division. Hopefully there includes investigators who are experienced in investigating crimes of this nature involving poor provision of medical services. You would have to look at what is the standard of care, what would a normal doctor with this expertise have done, and did this doctor do something different and fall below that standard?
Do you know if it's common to just always open up an investigation like this if there is a death, or is there something that happened that would indicate this was not a risk of the procedure, that it's not an accident of some kind? Do you know?
I don't know. I suspect that it wouldn't be normal to just immediately open up an investigation like this, but this got immediate attention around the world because she's a social media influencer, and perhaps that instigated the Russian authorities to take it more seriously and at least demonstrate to the world that they're doing something about this.
Do you know if these cases are common? I mean, I found a lot of cases under that specific Russian law, death from negligence due to improper performance of professional duties.
Yeah, this guy on the right here was like freaking me out, kind of. I was almost thinking about changing the video because he's also like yelling at the screen and shit too. I was gonna, yeah. She looks really good. Like, I don't understand why she needed to get any surgery or do any of this. And yeah. What was I gonna say? Daddy Putin has been the most Western friendly leader that Russia has had since the Bolshevik Revolution. Yes. The next one will be, yeah, exactly. Exactly. Like we are being like a douche to him. Why are we not allowed to buy Russian vodka here? Who gives a fuck? You know what I mean? Why can't I buy that? And like, why can't we do business with other people, other white people that we want to do business with? You know what I mean? Like, it should be able to work just fine. It really cuts off a world market too. It's kind of silly.
There was a case earlier this year where a criminal investigation was opened in Russia over a patient who died after plastic surgery. He didn't come out of anesthesia. You're seeing several of these. Is this an issue that is potentially about the clinics there, or is there something, why are we seeing these kinds of cases, and are they common?
Well, medical tourism
Wait a
is
second.
common in Russia.
Wait a second. Carlos X has the best. What a brilliant way to go out. Elective and cosmetic surgery. I didn't even think of that. I didn't even think of that. Wow. It's like they don't even bring that up.
Which is kind of surprising because you would think most people would be reluctant to choose Russia as a place to receive medical care. And, in particular, this type of care is, very popular among people to get augmentations like this. And I would imagine that because Russia's economy is suffering so much, it's very hard to get currency from outside Russia into Russia, that this has actually probably become a more popular way.
No, Russia's doing okay. They're doing just fine.
For anyone in the medical profession to earn money, it's probably very hard to earn money from the normal Russian citizen because...
Who would you rather have working at a hospital? A bunch of these chicks or a bunch of like B-dubs and stuff?
They make so little money. And so I would think there are incentives for doctors and nurses and practitioners to provide these types of elective surgeries to people from outside Russia at a price that is probably lower than what they would have to pay in their own country, but much higher than what they could earn from Russian citizens.
Yeah, and I'm curious what happens next, right? So I talked about some of the things that they might be doing behind the scenes. I guess the question now becomes, how does it move into formal charges? How long does an investigation take? And will there be formal charges? How does it work?
Yeah, it could take months. It could take even longer than that. Russia's a very bureaucratic country. It depends on whether there is a lot of emphasis and pressure on the investigative authorities to make this case a priority. If it were to go forward in a normal way without the exertion of political influence, it would happen probably in a very deliberative manner. But that's something the family should be looking at very closely.
What does a trial look like? How does that work? And how's it different from what we expect a trial to be here in the United States?
Yeah, let me pause it here, guys.
Russia...
I like to say to everybody, thanks for being here and everything. I want to call it a night, and I appreciate it. And I don't know how to forward to AJ's live, but if you go to AJ's rants, that's another show to check out, and he encouraged me to start. So thank you guys. Have a great night. I think we had some good dialogues here, and I'm getting better at presenting some of these shows and everything. Thank you so much. Have a great night.